That Ethan debate was kind of interesting. I never did see this one.
So let me just ask you generally, like, what kind of messages are you sharing on your platform? What kind of important messages is it that you find yourself are about?
I believe in family, so I think that we should have policies that push family. I think that feminism overall was a bad thing. I think that we should be. I think women are happier when we have, a family and kids over a career in the long run. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
It's okay. Yeah, I understand. So it's more like
what? Pearl? Nervous? That was like the most genuine human moment she's ever had. That was actually like that like caught me off guard. What the fuck?
Like traditional. You want people to kind of follow a more traditional path in terms of family and gender and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, and you just see the negative like outcomes a society has when like families fall apart, right? And it's especially hard on the children. Like you see, the kids are more likely to go to prison. They're more likely to drop out of school. They're more likely to, be in mental health institutions. So you just see like all of the problems that come with, single mother homes. So I just think it's important that we push policies that push family.
So how do you push a policy that promotes family? Like in what way can you force a family to stay together or encourage it in a sense?
Well, I think you first have to get rid of incentives that incentivize like women to leave families. So, for example, child support, alimony, I'm not really a fan of those.
Child support. So if there's a divorce.
Well, what if the man leaves? Is just no child support if the woman leaves? What if the man leaves and she needs child support?
I think we should ban divorce too. Yeah, I think that should be banned. Yes.
Okay, well, that's a little bit silly. You have to acknowledge that, right?
And I should go F myself.
No.
It means that when you decide to get married, you are not allowed by the government to leave your significant other in any situation.
Yeah. I just think that if you want to leave, you just shouldn't get married. So that's just my opinion.
Right, but like in the real world, that kind of...
Yeah, and in the real world, what if you already got married? Now what? What? Really? You just shouldn't have got married then.
And there's like exceptions to this, but I would just say in general, for most cases, we could talk about exceptions, but like the rule.
Well, the exceptions are the important part, because I've heard you say that a lot when you're talking about things. You say, oh, you want to talk about exceptions, but the exceptions is the important part, because those are the people that are going to be affected. I mean, exceptions are going to be a large part of divorces, as you say. I mean, you're talking about like...
What happened to the Pearl and Hunter debate? She canceled on me.
25% maybe or more, because if you're saying you're not allowed to get divorced, so we're talking about like, what if the relationship is physically abusive?
Yeah, then what?
Yeah, I think if it's physically... See, this is the problem, though. All right. If it's one-sided physically abusive, okay, fine, divorce. We can allow divorce for those exceptions. But like, I've even talked to people that work at like abuse centers, and they say that the majority of abuse is mutual. So it's not just one side hitting the other. It's like mutual. So
surely that's not every time.
I think... Yeah, I know.
But it's not healthier either.
But that's also
I just think
a
that
bad
the goal should be to
relationship.
keep families together, and that the goal should be to work through it.
I think most people agree with that, right? Because I think we all can look at the stats and say family is important, right? Family is important. Nuclear families is important to like the health of
This is a
children.
really stupid take, by the way. If she actually cares about keeping families together, she would also want to recognize then that, I don't know, the children being exposed to an environment in which both parents are physically abusive towards each other is probably really bad also.
Growing up in general, I think we can all say that. But when you say something like divorce should be illegal,
yeah,
we got to kind of suss that out, because that's a pretty extreme claim. For example, in 2014, family violence was the cause of 25% of divorces. So I don't think it's fair to characterize that as some kind of like super fringe example of why people get divorced.
Well, but you also have to look at there's incentive structures in place where there's a lot of false accusations in family court. And a lot of people don't know this, that family court is actually based off, it's not based off of evidence, it's based off of balance of probabilities. And there are incentive programs that you get, like in the UK, you get a free lawyer if you accuse your husband of abuse. And it's less than 10% of cases are actually like followed through with the police.
Sorry, I don't want to move on quite yet. I want to stick on the topic of not allowing people to divorce. So you're saying that you do want to allow people to divorce. Then you don't really believe that.
No, I would say ban divorce.
Okay, because you just said you would allow an exception in the case of abuse.
I said one-sided abuse exception, sure.
Okay, so how do you prove the one? So then you don't believe in forced divorce. Okay,
okay, fine. Ban divorce except for one-sided abuse.
Okay,
sure.
except for one-sided abuse. And is there going to be a system to kind of how do you prove that the woman or man?
Well, I think you have to press charges in criminal court, not family court.
So only if your significant other is tried criminally are you allowed to leave the relationship. tried and found guilty criminally.
Yes, yes. Otherwise, just stick out of, which is fine if you don't, want to be with someone forever. But I just say stay out of marriage.
Right,
because when you take, marriage is supposed to be,
How would you prove like emotional abuse in a criminal court?
for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, and for richer or for poorer. It's not supposed to be, when I feel like leaving. And the majority of divorces nowadays, it's just, when the girl just feels like leaving.
That's not true.
So, and well,
It's just not true.
I've talked to hundreds of women
That's
on
not.
the show.
That's just. That doesn't prove anything.
And even if you look at when no fault divorce was initiated in the 1970, I think it was initiated. I mean, one of the number one reasons was financial differences and irreconcilable irreconcilable.
And reconcilable.
Yeah. Sorry, I could talk.
So,
but yeah, I just think for the people that don't believe in real marriage, because what is marriage if you can get divorced over damn near anything? It's not marriage anymore. It's something else.
Well, I think the reason for that, historically, this emphasis on staying married, right, or even before this no-fault divorce was an option, and it was more difficult for women to get divorced or men. The abuse of power and the risk for abuse and for people to get stuck in a horrible relationship situation, not just for them but their kids, right? I mean, obviously, having your kids watch their mother get beat up, and oftentimes it's going to believe
or the kids get watching their father get beat up. Like, it goes both ways.
I acknowledge that it goes both ways. So both people have a
Yeah, it does, but it's far more likely that the dad is the one doing the physical abusing. Like, come on.
right to, in my opinion, get divorced, because the alternative is one of the partners being stuck and
do you think that's the majority? Do you think that's the majority of cases?
A majority of cases of what? Divorce?
Of divorce.
25%. 25%. It's 25% based on statistics.
No, but that's not what's in criminal court. It's like less than 10%.
That's because you don't necessarily go to criminal court, because what if you're beat the fuck up and you have no evidence of it? What if it happened but you don't have evidence of it? Like, it happened a long time ago or something. What? I've talked to hundreds of women. No, you haven't.
Well, regardless, 10% is enough, don't you think?
No, I said less than 10% of the abuse cases of the 25%. So that's like...
Journal of Family Violence in 2014 found that approximately 25% of divorces in the United States involve domestic violence.
Right, but again, that's because the woman says that she was, because they're incentive.
But you're just saying stuff. You're just saying stuff. You don't actually know that to be true.
No, I do.
How?
I do. Like, okay, in the UK, there's a law that you get a free lawyer if
how does that prove that women are lying about violence?
No, because I'm saying that you can't prove it unless they go to criminal court, because criminal court is based off of evidence, where family court is based off of a balance of probability. So it means it's more likely that they did it than didn't do it. It's not innocent until proven guilty.
Right, but they're not going to jail. It's just to let this...
Yeah, because exactly. Thank you, Ethan. Because it's about why... it's about whether or not the relationship can be dissolved, not about whether or not this person should be going to prison.
Abused
I mean, you could
partner.
call it jail when you have a lifetime of not seeing your children. When the whole
but it's
community...
not.
I mean, you could... I mean, have you spoken to these men? It's like, literally, their whole community thinks they're an abuser. Now they get to see their kids maybe 3 days a month if they're lucky. A lot of them are
sure,
a lot of them
course.
are put on...
Yeah, but
there's bad outcomes, for sure.
You're just assuming that they're always lying, though, and that it's just like they're these poor innocent men. Like, how do you know that's really true? Like, most of the time, I don't think women are just going to make this shit up.
But on the whole...
a lot of men zero themselves out during this.
They what?
Like, a lot of men commit suicide during...
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible, you know?
It's horrible. It's like absolutely terrible. Like, I interview these men that are going through this.
Yeah, I'm sure that's happened, but at the same time, you're saying women are lying about violence, and I haven't seen you be able to prove that.
I'm saying that you can't prove it unless you go to criminal court, because family court is based off of evidence.
Right, but they're not going to jail. It's just about the welfare of the kids, and the people.
It's a crime if you're falsely accusing someone of abuse. I'm saying there's no, you can't. They only prove it in less than 10% of cases.
Okay,
because criminal court is based off of evidence. Family court is not.
So let's just say
it's not a criminal matter.
It
it's a crime to abuse your partner, but it's not a criminal matter in the sense that the determination here, the decision being made, is not whether or not they should go to prison.
Still seems like enough to give people the option to leave. And this idea that women just leave whenever they want seems a little bit infantile, because people change, right? Especially when people get married young, which does happen. People change. People go through shit. People grow apart. A lot of the men who end up being abusive, you hear, were one way before they got married and one way after you get married. So I don't think it's fair to say you're just leaving whenever you want, or you should just have to stay in this forever. Wouldn't you prefer people get married than never get married? Like, I feel like you would be disturbed if, like, only 5% of couples ever got married.
I'd rather people got married and stayed married.
Right, but that wasn't one of the options.
I actually don't see a point in getting married with the way that marriage is today, to be honest. Yeah, because again, like, what is it? The average marriage is like 8 years. So the average marriage is 8 years and you're done. That's not marriage.
Maybe it could be.
Leaving a marriage due to domestic violence and not pursuing criminal charges. Let's say that a woman's in a marriage and they have a no fault marriage divorce. So let's say she doesn't want to charge her husband. She just wants to leave amicably, okay? But in your situation, she's forced to charge him legally, to have a police investigation, charge him for domestic violence. Wouldn't that be more damaging to his reputation?
Yes.
Not if he beat the case, because again, it's based off of evidence. But I mean, I think that why would you want an abusive guy walking free? If he's actually abusive, he should go to jail.
Right.
Shouldn't we
Father
agree
of
on
the
that?
kids.
Right, but it's just not that simple, again, because like it's just not that simple, abuse cases, because, you know, and it's not that simple to convict people.
I just don't think that men should be punished without evidence. And I think in family court, it's not based off of evidence. It's based on a balance of probabilities. And so you have a case where men only, like, they're stuck seeing their kid like 3 days a month, when, again, it's not based off of evidence. Like, you know, I've interviewed guys where literally the wife, and I've seen the court documents. It's coming out in my documentary that's coming out in the fall. But
goody.
the wife was plotting to try to get the guy to hit her.
Right, I'm sure that happens, but you know
and the wife still got custody.
Right, but that's not a representative case. Again, I mean, for example, you ask why a mom wouldn't want to try a parent. It's more nuanced, right? I mean, you need a more developed take on that, because it's very traumatic for the kids and the family to put their father through a violence case, and especially when the kids are probably going to have to ask to testify, to talk to the police. I mean,
Yeah.
I totally understand why mother or father wouldn't want to put their family through that, don't you?
I mean, I can understand it. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so Pearl, if your goal is families, then what if it's better for the family to not, or like for the kids to not see their mom getting the fuck beaten out of her, and it's also better for them to not need to try to testify against their father in court. So wouldn't it be better then to divorce? Ethan's making a great point there, that under her mindset, it requires the man is brought to criminal court, which is far more severe.
Sure. And I mean, according to national statistics on domestic violence, okay, there's 10 million men and women each year that are the victim of physical abuse. But in your world, I have a feeling that a lot of these people would be trapped in these marriages, and that's okay.
I said in one-sided abuse, they could leave. Yes.
Okay.
So, no. Yeah.
Okay.
How do you prove
Do you-
I do think in order to get custody of your kids, if you're going to accuse the other side of abuse, you should have to prove it.
Do you think what do you think is more harmful to kids, divorce or physical abuse?
Physical abuse.
Okay, you passed that one. But you had to think about it for a second. But anyway, let's move on from this.
No, I just thought it was kind of a silly question. That was all. But
Okay, that's refreshing. Tell me, what does red pilled mean to you? Because I've heard you use that phrase a lot. You're part of the red pilled community.
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people. I will say a lot of people have their own definitions of it, so people use it for different things. But I would say it's viewing the world the way it's supposed to be, or like the way it is, not the way you're told it is. So, like, you know, for example, a lot of guys think if they treat a girl nice and give her flowers, that, you know, she'll essentially sleep with him. And then a lot of guys find out that's not true. And so then they, you know, came together and, yeah, realized that. So that's just one thing.
Is that true? Do men really believe that?
But what do you mean?
That if you buy flowers and be nice, she'll sleep with you?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think that's
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's real.
I think that guys who believe that are like pieces of shit, subhumans, who either are desperately misogynistic or just really stupid, and they're one of those like quote unquote nice guys where they say I'm a nice guy.
I think that's like a really odd way to describe dating. It's just like men are nice guys and women
Well,
are.
I just think it's
where they pretend to be the nice guy, but they're really not, you know? Where they say, oh, I'm so nice, you know, I just care about you, girl, whatevs, yo. But really, it's just a phony being nice to try to just get in your pants. Like, that's what a lot of these nice guys really are. So, like, yeah, guys are, I guess she's right. Guys are in for a dose of reality there when they realize that buying flowers for her doesn't actually get her to sleep with you. I thought that was obvious, but, you know, who knows?
Very
I would say-
cartoonish. Like, we're
I-
talking
I
about
would-
real world
yeah.
stuff, and it's just, you
I
can't
mean,
really.
I just think men don't expect like women to reproduce more with felons than non-felons. Like, I think that's a surprise.
Women reproduce more with felons than
Violent felons.
non-felons.
Yeah. I mean, like, think about it. Like, Ted
wait, hold
Bundy.
on, hold on.
Wait. Did you say violent felons? That could be because of rape. Wait, go back.
Wait, what does that mean? So felons who
Mm-hmm.
are procreating have more kids in general than non-felons? What does that stat mean?
They have more children with felons than non. It's like,
So
I don't remember if it's violent felons versus non-violent felons, but I just remember violent felons have more children than non-violent felons.
Who's that?
And so there's men who are looking at that and they're pissed.
No, not
Because I've
pissed,
never
I
heard
think
that stat in my
surprised.
life.
No, I think just surprised.
Right? I've
Because,
never
you know,
heard that
people-
stat.
Okay.
Yeah, is there a source for that? It just seems kind of an odd stat. Like, what does it prove?
No,
Felons
Ethan, come
have
on,
more
get her on
kids
this.
than
Well,
non-felons.
No, the argument that if that was true, that could be because they're violent felons having more kids. They could be violently they could just be raping their wife. What?
I think the reasoning is because women want a guy that can, like, protect her, basically.
A felon?
Yeah.
That's a weird...
Why do you think Ted Bundy had, like, love letters?
What?
Oh, well, that's a whole different weird phenomenon about women being interested.
No,
Some weird niche
no,
of
but
women
that's the
involved.
point.
All
That's the
serial
point.
killers.
That's surprising.
Right.
What? It's about this happens with killers across the board. First of all, Ted Bundy was a really charming guy, so he duped a lot of people. Second of all, this happens. It's like a phenomenon. He's suddenly famous, and it's this weird fucking shit. It's a weird, like, it might even be a I can fix him type thing. But what? Man, how does Pearl is so wrong on, like, everything. It's insane.
Right. It is surprising, but I don't think it's any interesting commentary on the dating scene that serial killers get love letters from freaks. You know what I mean? Richard Ramirez did too. All serial killers do.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, but the point is, it's one, like, it's not the same for women. It's just men.
So what is your point exactly? That what does that prove? That felons have more kids than non-felons?
You know, that a lot of times women pick the bad boys. You know, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Does having more kids?
With, I mean, a guy that's a violent felon. You don't think? Okay.
How is he not putting the violent thing together?
Is there a source for that? It's just a really weird stat. I'm just trying to grapple with it.
I can get it. in
Sure.
a second.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, we can try to look for it too. I just want to hear what's...
It's in. I can show you where I found it. It's
Okay,
in this.
fantastic. Yeah, Casey Anthony got love letters apparently. So she was a serial killer, right? Oh, she killed her daughter.
Not serial, just a one-timer.
So Casey Anthony murdered her daughter, and she was getting love letters too. She got letters proposing marriage. Don't you find that surprising?
Yeah, that is surprising.
So in a sense, it's not. It goes both ways, kind of when you look at it holistically.
Yeah. No, I think it's more so for women pick violent men more than
Of course you
men
do.
pick violent women.
Of course you think that,
Based on
Pearl.
what?
Based on-
I think you can just. I would just say I would guess that it's more common with women because of that study versus like a fringe case. I would be surprised if women got the same amount of letters, but you know, I could be.
You
wrong.
might be surprised, but do you feel that sometimes you argue from emotion rather than like concrete facts? I find that when you talk about, and I've watched a lot of your videos, you say stuff that I don't think has much of a backing in reality. It's based on feelings, maybe instead of not emotions, but feelings. You say, I feel this to be true. Do you feel you do that a lot or no?
I try. I would say I'm a woman, so sometimes, yeah.
Okay. Interesting
But-
defense.
You
Wow.
know. Hold on. Do you want me to find it or no?
Sure, yeah, I'll give you a minute. That's totally fine. Okay. So why should I engage with in a conversation with you at all if women are just emotional? Shouldn't I be talking to a man about this?
Probably.
Why do you bother to even have a platform? Shouldn't you just concede to a man?
Yeah, probably. You
Right.
know.
So we got to look for a man to replace you. Don't you think?
No, not
don't-
really.
So, wow, this is really bad. Now I see why everyone was saying I need to watch this. This was 3 months ago. I'm surprised I haven't seen this sooner. This is pretty brutal, isn't it?
You don't think? Okay. But you do think women are
Give
more
me
emotional.
that.
Whose stream is it?
The link, he pulls up the study in the stream, so the link is on here.
Whose stream is it?
It's Rolo's stream.
Rollo Tony
But-
Brown?
Yeah,
He's
he's
a good-
great actually.
I know you're a fan. He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he's really nice.
I like his head wear.
I like when he rocks out.
where do I send it to?
The
Send it in the Zoom chat.
Zoom chat, yeah.
Or
Oh,
you
it's
can just
on
tell me
my
the
phone.
name of it and I can pull it up.
Okay,
Either
it's in Rollo Tomasi is offensive and vile. It's like 7 months ago. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll look into it. So if women are so emotional, do you think it's bad faith in terms of an argument to argue from feelings and to present feelings as facts? Do you think that's a bad faith way to argue or no?
No, I was kind of kidding. I was like
What were you
joking.
kidding about?
When I don't know, whatever you were asking me earlier, you were like, do you? I don't even remember. You said something like, "Do you think you shouldn't have a platform?" Or like,
I asked you, do you feel that you make arguments based on feeling? And you said, yes, I do because I'm a woman.
oh yeah, I was kidding. No, I use facts to back up my arguments. Sometimes I'd say I'm wrong. Sometimes I think something and it's not correct. But I would say most of my opinions, I try to at least have a basis of fact. Yes.
Okay.
Some things you just see in reality, right? I mean, like
Some things you
sometimes
just
you're
see.
gonna. Yeah, I mean,
No,
you know, you
some
can.
things you see in reality and you think that it speaks for everything and it doesn't because you don't do research.
Like some things you just learn from interviewing hundreds of people. You see patterns.
Right. But sometimes when you interview people, you interviewing specific people with specific experiences, you're obviously going to run into a bias.
No, I don't think so. Because we do street interviews all the time too. So that's like random people on the street.
Okay, fair enough. So there's the red pilled, which are people who see the world for what it is. And then you have blue pilled people, which I'm assuming is someone like me. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But what does blue pilled mean?
People that see the world for how they like it to be, I guess.
Okay.
I don't talk much about, I guess, like blue pill, but yeah.
Okay, fair enough. We don't have to focus in on that. So I've noticed that one of the primary focuses of your content is kind of the problems facing men and how there's so much unfair societal pressures or norms or expectations on men. Why is it that you're so singularly focused on the troubles of men?
Why am I focused on the troubles of men? That's an interesting way to, I guess, phrase my content. I would say I think it's unfortunate what happens to men in divorce court. So that's probably what I talk about the most. Is I think that men should have access to their children.
That's not what you talk about the most. You definitely talk about stuff like pay gap myth. You talk about men want younger girls. You talk about men are just doing what's in their nature. You talk about women who have higher body count are less desirable. I'll be honest. I've watched a lot of your stuff, and the vast majority is not about divorce court. It's about this kind of like dating coach stuff.
No, I wouldn't say I'm a dating coach, but okay.
No, but that realm, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mean you're a dating coach, but like that kind of realm, it seems that you're super focused on. So what is your interest in that? Manosphere, maybe that's a better term, manosphere stuff.
Yeah.
What is my interest? I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, so that's what we talk about.
Okay, that's fair. So you say you're anti-feminism. Feminism was basically a mistake. So what is your problem with feminism? Let's start there. That's a good point, right?
I think that feminism wants equality when it benefits us and not actual equality.
And are you going back to the beginning of feminism? Like the whole history of feminism, like women's suffrage and everything?
Yeah,
no, I don't.
She's going to be like, they didn't have to sign up for the draft or something stupid.
You don't fuck with women's suffrage?
No.
You don't think women should get the right to vote?
No, I don't.
Okay, so are you serious or are you kidding?
Pearl doesn't fuck with women's suffrage. She fucks with women's suffering.
No, I'm serious.
Okay, so women shouldn't have the right to vote.
Yeah.
Why?
No. Because men are signed up for selective service, so they're fined $300,000 if they don't sign up for selective service when they're 18.
Do you think women should be drafted into the army?
I think if we want the same rights, it comes with the same responsibilities.
Do you think women should be drafted into the army?
No.
Okay, so then there's a paradox.
No, but that's my point. I'm saying, like, let's make it fair.
You don't believe? Well, listen, this is your perfect world.
I'm saying that if we are going to vote.
Spaghetti-o, Pearl. You're not making sense again. So why not just have women sign up for the draft then, instead of just saying women shouldn't be able to vote? Your right to vote has nothing to do with you signing up for the draft. You're just naming something that you don't like that they don't make women do right now. What does this have to do with the voting?
Same cost, which is that men are put into selective service and women are not. And if I had to pick between the two, then...
So men are put in there, women are not, but you're saying women shouldn't be in the military either. So that's what you're saying. So there's no way for women to win. Again, all of these red pill people come full circle to there's just no way for women to actually win.
I would give up the right to vote instead of sign up for selective service.
Okay, so you're saying women
really? You'd give up your right to vote rather than just sign up? When was the last time someone was even drafted? The likelihood of a draft is so fucking astronomically low and unlikely. Oh my God.
The right to vote if they sign up for selective service, but at the same time, you're saying women should not serve in the military. So in your world, women are just going to be disenfranchised. They're not going to be able to sign. They shouldn't serve in the military because they're not as good fighters.
No,
right?
No, I'm saying for me personally, I would not want to sign up for selective service if I had to pick.
So
I would give that up.
You think women should be given the choice if they want to do selective service or not?
I think if we're going to vote, we should have no choice like the men do.
So women should be drafted mandatory into selective service, you believe?
No, that's
okay, but don't you see the there's an issue? There's a problem here.
I said, if feminists want the right to vote, right, then it should come with the draft. It should come. I mean, it's not called the draft anymore. It's called selective service. Personally, in Pearl's world,
she not getting this?
I do not want to be drafted. I do not want to be in selective service.
But you're saying that women should therefore need to be drafted or at least be forced to sign up in order to have the right to vote. But then you're saying they shouldn't have to do that. But then if they don't do that, they're not getting the right to vote. You're making it so that there's no way women get the right to vote.
In general, in terms of policy, because obviously I think it's safe to say women in general want the right to vote, right? And so then, by your logic, women need to be entered into selective service, right? But you don't think that should happen, or you think that's okay?
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Not you. I mean, in general, the women, because women want to vote. So how do we resolve this issue? Do they get drafted like men?
I think it's unlikely that women will ever have the right to vote taken away. So I guess moving forward, maybe net taxpayers potentially you could do, but that's that's a whole nother conversation. But no, I think if we're gonna vote, I think that we should have the same responsibility as the men and be enlisted in selective service.
Okay. Okay, so you're saying.
Wait, that is tax now? Are you kidding me? This is literally just like, so then the wealthy can run the country now. Basically, that's what she's saying now. So then the highest tax brackets, whoever's paying more in taxes gets to vote. This is ludicrous.
Women should also have to sign up for selective service when they turn 18, like men.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to be equal, make it equal.
Okay.
And for me, I don't want to do that. No, thank you. Keep me out of that.
Okay, so right. I understand that's your preference, but I'm just trying to understand like the policy that in your red pill. We're doing the red pill. We're seeing the world as it is.
No, I wouldn't assign that belief to like red pill. That's not really like a red pill belief. That's just mine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make a point about. So do you think having women in the army would weaken our military?
Yes.
So then,
I love this.
probably don't draft women into the army.
Yeah, but then take away the vote with it.
But you're not giving that. That doesn't seem very.
You're not giving them a choice. How? Like, she's so stupid. I'm shocked. Like, looking at her, watching her trying to navigate just like a simple conversation is like painful.
Very fair. You see what I'm saying? Did you say, well, you guys
I swear I've seen this thing a month ago. Yeah, it's old. I just haven't seen it yet, and I've been really wanting to watch it, so I'm watching it.
weaker? You guys are going to weaken our military. So we don't want you in the military. But because you're not in the military, you don't get the right to vote. It's a catch-22. You know what I mean? So what do we do about that?
Well, I'll tell you what I think we should do.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, it goes back to, I just think that you have to have some skin in the game. And so it's like, if we're voting for a commander-in-chief, right, that's the person that decides if we go to war or we don't go to war. And so it's easy to, again, I think that if you're going to vote, you should have the same responsibility as the men. And women don't want to do that. It's either we're equal or we're not equal.
Okay, well, just to be fair.
If we're really equal, have the same responsibility. But again, it's equality when it benefits us.
Well, your logic doesn't even make sense. I mean, you're talking about, first of all, there hasn't been a draft in the United States in 50 years, right? So if there was a draft, maybe we could have this conversation, but it just seems kind of silly. In 50 years, there hasn't been a mandatory draft. It just hasn't happened. So, so why is it a big deal, I guess, about the selective service? Because there's not going to be another draft. You know what I mean? There's enough people in the army. I don't think that there's going to be a draft. It's just not going to happen. And with the way technology is going, we're going to have autonomous robot fighters before there's a draft. You know what I mean? So why does it matter? I just don't see the point with the selective service thing.
I just think it's, again, like, women want all the rights without the responsibility.
What other ones?
If you don't think,
what responsibilities do they not have? The men don't have this responsibility either, because we haven't had to do it. We haven't had to go off to war. So we don't have the responsibility either. So what responsibility do women not have that men have, but yet we both get the right to vote? Now you just don't even make any sense at all.
Think that there's going to be a draft, then equally do what the men do. Men are fined $300,000.
Well, they don't have the option. They don't even have the option right now.
Right. So give them the option.
Okay,
I'm just
let's give them the option.
Make it equal.
But you said you don't want that. Oh my God. It's literally incoherent. It's actually incoherent.
Not the option. It has to be mandatory.
I know, but you saying like women want the right to vote, but they don't want to enter in selective service, but it's not an option. So how do you know what all women want?
I don't know what all women want.
So then why are you saying things that are generalized all women?
I'm saying, no, okay. Because I'm looking at the policies that have been pushed. I'm saying the policies are not, like, where are the feminists fighting for equality in this situation? Like,
yeah, I mean, again, it's not that relevant, but also no women in the army is kind of a byproduct of patriarchy, because women are looked at as that they'd weaken the military, as you pointed out. Is that possible that it's been driving that policy and not so much women?
I didn't say women drove that policy. I said they don't try to make it equal. It's only equal when it benefits us.
Even if nobody's being actually drafted.
I mean, 50 years isn't, that long of.
Oh
I mean,
my God.
You don't know, but okay.
She is
50
so
years. I mean, the last
stupid.
was like during Vietnam, wasn't it?
Do you not think it should be equal? So you think that it shouldn't be?
No, I think what you're saying is fair, but it's not making any sense. Like, okay, sure, let's put women into selective service. Fine, I'm fine with that. I think it's fine.
Okay.
I think everyone should sign up for it. And there's other ways that people can support the military other than being on the front line, right? Right. So, what other rights do women want? You know what I mean? That are contradictory.
Okay, women want the right to not be a mother, but men don't have the right to not be a father. So women can have a, which I know it varies state. I'm in the UK, so I forget. Sometimes the US is different by state, but like in the UK, abortion's free up to 6 months, but a man can't opt out of child support. So it's like, why does he have the right to not be a father, but women don't? Or why do women have the right to not be mothers, but men don't have the right to not be fathers? I don't think that's fair or equal.
Sorry, just to go back for a sec. So feminists actually do, they want the draft abolished. So their point is, let's not sign up for the service. Let's abolish the draft altogether. So they are fighting for equality. They are against the draft. There should be no draft. So men and women shouldn't be drafted. That is also equality, isn't it?
Oh yeah, okay.
So you accept the premise is wrong on that?
I don't. I mean, it's still not equal the way it is. But yeah, what they're
No,
saying.
it's not
would be
equal the way it is, sure. And
Yeah,
feminists agree.
yeah, but
Feminists agree
for-
with you.
Oh, okay. I've never heard him talk about that, but
Do you listen
okay.
to a lot of feminist ideology? Do you read books? Do you listen to lectures? How do you listen to a lot of that stuff?
So I talk to feminists all the time.
Right. I haven't seen you talk to an actual scholar once. You just talk to kind of random women.
Mm-hmm.
And claim
Right,
they're
I mean, that's
feminists.
fair to say.
Or OnlyFans girls.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say you talk to feminists, you just mean like random women off the street, not
Yeah,
like a scholar.
That's say they're feminists.
Yeah, but but feminism.
Doesn't
It's
count?
like a.
It doesn't count.
Well, you said you know what feminists believe because you talk to a lot of feminists, but I'm talking about like.
No, I said I've never heard them bring it up. So.
Do you have any
Yeah.
interest in talking to feminist scholars who are more aware with like kind of what
Yeah,
feminism?
actually, yeah.
I think
If you
that would be
know
good.
him, Send them to the UK.
But they're in the UK.
No, I actually tried for some, but then they'll be like, "You're a hateful woman." Da 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 da. There's one that's I can't even remember, some blonde chick out here. Can't remember her name, but yeah, she didn't want to come on.
Blondes.
No, I'm just saying that was her. That's what she looked like. I don't know her name. I forget.
But like, I mean, my point is like when you just bring a random girl and they say, "Yeah, I'm a feminist," it's kind of like the Steven Crowder changed my mind versus like actually talking to someone who's involved in like the scholastics, the academia of what feminism means historically in modern day and previously. So the level of discourse you would have is obviously different. So, so feminists are in favor of equality though. So I don't know if that's interested you or not. You don't believe me?
I'll take your word.
You can trust me. I'm a man.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on. Oh yeah, we're talking about feminism. So what other? So you're talking about divorce court. Sorry, I know
love
you were making a
this.
point. So let's go back to that. You were saying that women can decide to terminate a pregnancy, therefore they can choose to be a mom, but men cannot decide that, and they don't get the choice to be the dad.
To not be a dad.
Right. So do you think that like? Do you not think that the idea that the baby, obviously the reason for that, right, which we both know, is that because the baby's inside the woman's body.
I don't think that matters. Yeah.
So.
I mean, personally, I'm pro-life, so I don't believe in abortion at all. But again, it's the double standard. It's like the women have a choice, but men do not have a choice.
Sure. No, I see
Wait,
that there
what?
is
You
a
say
sense
the
to that,
same
which is
thing if you're
unfair.
pro-life. You're going to say women have a choice too, don't have sex. So then men have a choice, don't have sex. That's the pro-life argument. That's what you say every time women get pregnant unintentionally. They do have a choice.
Although there are a lot of single moms, as you pointed out.
Keep your dick in your pants, boy.
Yeah, they're on child support, Not all, but
Well, men have the choice in the sense that they can just wear a condom.
Yeah, thank you.
right.
If they don't wanna be
have
bothered.
yeah, right. But women have the choice to go on birth control.
Okay.
Women have the
but
choice to
ultimately,
take Plan B. Women have the choice to get an abortion.
Then you're
Women
saying-
have the choice to, take the morning after pill. Women have the choice. You have like IUD. There's a million pills.
right, but those will have to do with pregnancy. But I'm
where-
saying if a
and
man,
women also can require men to put on condoms or not put on condoms.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Women can also require that the men that they sleep with wear condoms.
Right, but if
So
it's
that's what I'm
inherent,
saying.
if it's inherently unfair to men, the easy solution is just it kills all this discussion is men just put on condoms when they have sex. Therefore, that
Well, you can also say women close your legs. Like
yeah, but you're the
see,
one saying
right
that it's
there.
unfair for men. That's my point. You're saying men
no,
don't
I'm
have a
saying
choice.
I'm saying women have like 10 choices. The men have
But that's just biology.
The men have condom or no condom, which again is a choice that both of them make because the women can require that the men wear condoms too.
Right.
But you're only putting that
But
on
it's
the
in
men.
the men- I'm just saying you-
okay,
I'm saying
once the baby is conceived,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then the man has no choice, where the woman has a choice.
Okay, so let's just talk about that then, because so it's your opinion that if a woman is pregnant, the man should be able to decide for her to have an abortion.
I'm pro-life, so I would ban it altogether. My point is the double standard, where a man is legally obligated to pay child support and will go to jail if he doesn't, but the woman has the choice to not be a mother through abortion.
I know you're against abortion.
But the
I
dad
just want to know what you
has
mean.
the choice to not be a dad via condom. It's not that different. Oh my god.
So let's just say we're trying to make it equal for men. So should men be able to decide for a woman to have an abortion if she's pregnant?
I think that men should be able to sign off on child support.
Okay, so if they say, hey, I don't want anything to do with this baby,
Yeah.
then the woman can decide to have it, but the father will have no obligations.
Yes.
And you think that's better for society?
No, I think that's equal. That's more fair.
Okay, so you're more interested in fairness than the welfare of society as a whole.
No, if it was up to me, if we wanted to go, it's good for society. I don't think abortion should be legal.
No, I know. We're having.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
I'm saying if you want to make it fair, like I don't think that's fair that the woman after she gets pregnant, so they both make the irresponsible decision, right? Because you'd agree it's irresponsible if it's an unplanned pregnancy that the woman, had sex with a guy without protection, right? You'd agree? Yes.
Yeah,
No?
yeah.
Okay. So you would
As
agree
someone who had an unplanned pregnancy, I can tell you right now, you can still be very irresponsible and it can still happen. Like, we were not being irresponsible when it happened with me and Carissa. Carissa was on birth control and everything. It just, sometimes shit happens. is such an ignorant approach. It's okay though. She's probably a virgin, so she doesn't understand.
Equally irresponsible when it first happens.
Although I guess by your logic, it would be more irresponsible for the man because he has less choices. But yeah, they're both doing something irresponsible.
Well, but yeah, they're both irresponsible. So my point is, after that happens, women have the choice to not be a mother, but men don't have the choice not to be a father. At least, if they don't pay child support, they can go to jail.
Right, because that's for the benefit of the children, which is what's the most important thing.
Yeah, but is it for the benefit of the kid to kill him? Like,
say what?
Dude, it's not for the benefit of the kid. Like the woman can make.
Wait,
a
what do you mean
selfish...
to kill who?
I mean, I'm pro-life, so again, yeah.
Abort the baby.
So yeah, so if we're gonna go for the benefit of the kid, like if your argument is let's do what's best for the benefit of the kid, the benefit of the kid is not killing the child. Right? I mean, and for me, like I believe it's a kid, right? You might not.
But what's that have to do with the fairness to the man? I don't understand that.
You don't understand. It's not fair, again, that men have the choice, that men do not have the choice.
I understand what you're saying.
Men, women, yeah.
But then, okay, whatever. We're arguing in circles a little bit. Let's talk about abortion then, since you're against abortion. I'm assuming your stance is abortion should be off the table in any situation.
Yes.
So if a dad rapes his daughter, then she needs to give birth to that baby.
That's less than 1% of cases. Why do you guys always bring up? I know,
but that's important, Pearl. Because if you're going to have a conversation about difficult things, let's talk about the difficult things. This is why the laws exist. The laws exist to protect that little girl.
I'm saying let's talk about the most common thing.
That's easy. That's easy. That's not what's difficult about this.
But I'm saying we can get to the difficult things later. But it's like,
why out of the matrix.
That's the interesting part. I'm telling you, the law is there to protect on those fringe cases.
I'm saying, why don't we start with the majority of abortion?
Didn't we just do that?
You think, okay.
What do you want to say? You don't agree with abortion. So, like, if a man and women have sex and they're both being irresponsible, then sure, I understand. You say abortion's bad because we don't want to murder babies. That's not controversial. That's easy to understand. The point of these laws is to protect the little girl who's raped by her dad. These are the challenging issues. So this is why I ask you about it, because this is the byproduct of your position of no abortions are allowed under any circumstance. So if you're willing to take that position, you can't just dismiss this because you are saying that this girl who's raped by her dad should have the baby.
I just think we spend a lot of time. I just think we spend a lot of time arguing about fringe cases that are less than like 0.5%.
Those are the important.
Because the fringe cases are also what test the philosophy of it, by the way. These fringe cases, the reason that matters is because when you're having this kind of a conversation about the philosophy of abortion, that's where you need to be able to test your ideology. This is where push comes to shove, not under the boring, like, if you decide to just get drunk and go to a gangbang, it's bad to kill the baby. Ethan's right.
Cases. That's
and I don't think those are as important as the 99.5% of cases. And so sometimes I think it's a bit disingenuous to say, here's this extreme.
Of course they're more important. They're more severe.
Extreme fringe case that happened. And I don't think you don't make a law for the exception.
Yes,
like you don't make laws. The general law is not for the exception; it's for the rule. Like why
that's not an exception. Why is that an exception? Or I mean, exceptions are important to the law.
Okay,
that's the whole point.
Wait, do you not think it's an exception? Like a 13-year-old girl getting raped by her? I don't know what you can say on YouTube.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. I don't think raped is gonna.
Oh, we stay away.
Yeah,
I don't know. But do you not think that's an exception?
And by exception, but she was raped. What do you mean by exception?
Right. Like, do you think it's common?
No, of course it's not common.
That doesn't mean
that's my point. Like we waste.
Do you think that it's less important? Do you think it's less important because it's not as common?
I think it's more important to talk about the 99.5% of abortions.
That's easy. That's an easy conversation. It's not like I get your position there.
Yeah.
But
wasn't she just appealing to the exception earlier too with women? Wasn't she just talking about like women doing all this evil shit to screw over the guy earlier? She can't even keep her own delusions straight.
You can write exceptions into laws. That's why they exist. Because why should that girl who's raped by her dad forced to give birth to that baby because you didn't want to have a conversation about her?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would still make it illegal, to be honest. Because again, I think you either think it's a life or you don't. So if you think it's a child, you're never gonna encourage killing a child under any exceptions. So
right, and that's I guess where the big difference comes between abortion, people who are for and against abortion is that we disagree on where life begins, essentially.
Right.
But ultimately, what quality of life do you expect this child to have from like a 13-year-old girl who's raped by her dad?
Is a lower quality life less valuable? Like that's almost saying if you are in a bad situation, your life is less valuable than someone who isn't. And that's kind of a tricky argument.
Not less valuable, but I mean, if we're...
But one should be aborted, one shouldn't. So one should be in society, one shouldn't be in society. I would say that...
Because the conversation is... The reason this conversation is getting so muddy right here between them is because they've never established really the fetus, the value of the fetus. I don't usually think about it as a baby that you're killing because when most abortions take place, it's before there's a lot of sentience and whatnot that's been developed. I tend to think of it as... you're preventing a life from beginning. So there is a difference where one is a 13-year-old who already has a life, who already has an experience, and compromising her life and experience to save the potential or to save a future life is where it gets complicated, because they want to try to make it one-to-one, but it's not one-to-one. Because if we're talking about when most abortions take place, the fetus is becoming a person. It is not a person yet.
That's less valuable.
Well, it's more about you were talking about fairness. You were interested in the idea of fairness, right? Instead of the welfare of society. So let's talk about fairness. You know what I mean? Is it fair to the little girl that she was forcibly impregnated by her dad?
Right, but is it fair? Is it fair to the child?
Okay, so who's
Like that's like we could talk about.
a 13-year-old is a
fairness.
child, by the way.
Know.
She's 13. She's a child.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think that's horrible, and I think there should be the death penalty for rapists. But yeah, I'm sorry, like I don't believe in abortion. And again, to me, I think that's a child, and I just can't advocate for the murder of a kid under
Okay,
any
that's
circumstances.
fair. I understand where you're coming from. What about situations where like 12% of abortions are related to health crises, where there's a chance the woman might die or the baby might die or both? Your thoughts on that?
I don't know enough about those situations to really have an opinion on it. I would probably guess that they would likely both die in those situations. So
Sometimes it's just the
maybe
mom.
that's an exception, but I don't know enough about that stuff.
Right. Well, we can use our imagination. Just for the hypothetical conversation, where there's 12%. I'm telling you, there are 12% of abortions are related to health crises. So if it's the baby lives but the mom dies, what do you think should happen in that situation?
I don't know.
Okay. The reason I'm putting your feet to the fire on this is because you says very specifically that abortion should be outlawed in all situations. So of course I'm testing that.
She's just like,
Yeah, I could maybe see an exception for the life of the mother, but I've heard, and I don't want to quote this because again, it's just something I've heard. I've heard it's not as common as people lead you to believe, and like sometimes those stats are manipulated, but I don't.
Yeah, but the commonness doesn't really matter. It's more about that. I think the exceptions are interesting. I disagree. I think when you say why are we focusing on the exceptions, I think that's a way for you to try to dismiss difficult questions.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bingo.
I just think it's like silly when 99.5% of abortions are not the exception. So
But that doesn't make sense. I mean, why don't you care about the situation of everybody else just because it's the exception?
I just think you should spend more time debating the most common thing. So that's my opinion.
Okay. Very good. So we talked about feminism. The problem with feminism is that women want equality, but they don't really want equality. They need to sign up for the military, which feminists want to abolish the draft. And then we're talking about reproductive rights, where the women get all the choice and the men don't. Is there any other ones?
I'm sorry, I was reading something. What'd you say?
Is there any other examples other than reproductive rights and voting/draft that shows that feminism was a mistake or that feminists are disingenuous or something like that?
I would just say like there's just a lack. The biggest one I would say is divorce court. 90% women get custody 80 to 90% of the time. I think 90% of alimony payments are awarded to women.
What does that have to do with women's suffrage, though? You said you criticized the whole thing going all the way back to its inception.
I thought you asked other double standards. No.
Well, I asked you what's your problem with feminism in general. We can move on, though. I have a good question for you. I hear you talk a lot about the pay gap.
Right.
The pay gap is a myth. What do you mean by that?
Oh, because women don't do the dangerous jobs in society. So, like, I just think the pay gap, the majority of the time, is women making an excuse. Yeah, just excuses. Poor me. Do you realize
you're arguing from emotion right now?
Are you gonna let me finish?
Oh, I just wanted to point that out, but yeah, go ahead.
All right. You asked what I think. You asked what I think.
Well, the pay gap is more concrete than, I asked.
I mean, when you take into account the number, women work less hours.
Right.
Don't do the most. Would you say that's true? Women work less hours.
Yeah, statistically that's true.
Would you say it's true that we don't do the most dangerous jobs in society?
Yeah, statistically. That's true.
Would you agree that the majority, if you look at female millionaires, the richest women came from divorce?
Okay.
There's like one woman
True
like
or
this.
not true?
Yeah, that's true. I guess I think so.
Okay, so what are we complaining about?
What does that have to do with the pay gap? Any of that?
Because all of those you don't think working less hours contributes to getting paid less?
Yeah, but the pay gap. Excuse me. Sorry, I've got phlegm in my throat. So what you're doing is you're misrepresenting what the pay gap is. You understand that? The pay gap, when it's analyzed by economists, and the U.S. Department of Labor and such organizations, they do controlled analysis where they eliminate all these factors. For example, ones you listed of women tending to work in lower paid fields. They eliminate women working less. They eliminate for when women take maternity leave, all this kind of stuff. And even when you do a controlled analysis where you eliminate that, there's still a big pay gap.
That's not true.
I don't think. Is that
Okay.
true?
Wasn't it like 3%? Last time I checked, it was 3%.
Oh, so there is a pay gap.
Yeah, but that's 3%.
So, but it's not a myth if there's 3%.
Yeah, but I mean, the number they used to push was like 77 cents to the dollar.
But that's what it is without the. It's about 20% without the
Correct.
yeah, the control. Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, when women, like, I just think if we wanted to be equal, then do the same jobs men do.
But there
And
is
we
a
don't-
but that's interesting because you
don't
admit
choose to do that.
there is a pay gap. 3%. I mean, I wouldn't want to work for 3% less.
To be fair, I would also, if I were in Ethan's shoes here, I would start pushing her on why women are being paid less. Why is that? Even if there is a small pay gap, why do women not work these jobs? Why are women choosing jobs that don't pay as much? This all comes back to certain social expectations and social attitudes, and the way you're raised and the way you're taught that this is a girl job or this is a boy job, and the way that these gendered expectations are upheld.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that's because of gender, but it's also because women are more agreeable. It's like 70.
That's included. That's part of the
women-
control.
Okay. I mean, I don't think 3% you can really say that's just because of gender.
Well, I did some research on this. The Department of Labor published an in-depth report. This is under Trump's administration in 2019. This is from the U.S. Department of Labor. I can link you the study if you want. It's called Gender-Based Pay Disparity Study.
Mm-hmm.
The research team found that the raw gender wage gap was 17.4%, and the median was 20%. The raw wage gap increased, actually, between 50th and 75th percentile and remains the greatest at the highest percentile. In addition, the research team found that the importance of human capital varied across wage distributions in part-time work as well as female-oriented occupations. The updated result explained about 20 to 70% of the raw wage gap over the wage distribution, but it left an adjusted wage gap of 10 to 15%. That was in 2019, according to
Yeah.
the U.S. Department of Labor.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to look at that, but the stuff I've seen, it's very small. It's like 3%.
What stuff have you
Oh.
seen?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I can send it to you.
Sure.
Okay.
But I just gave you a pretty concrete. I mean, the U.S. Department of Labor. Do you consider that a credible source?
Yeah. I mean, if that's true, it's just a lot of times like there are like parts of the study that they don't talk about. So, like even on this is what I was looking at earlier. Like they're saying the stat you gave earlier, 12% of abortion.
The irony of Pearl saying that, by the way, when red pillars constantly bring up that one study where they say that there was that study on the dating site that found that women would never find any guys attractive, even though they always leave out the part of the study where it said that, yeah, women were pretty harsh when it came to their ratings of appearance, but they actually messaged the guys that they rated only moderately attractive more frequently than the guys that they rated really attractive. They always leave that little one out. What about something like that, Pearl?
Abortions are not done on, like, even on this is what I was looking at earlier. Like they're saying the stat you gave earlier, 12% of abortions are not done on the surgery table of the emergency room. These cases are overwhelmingly doctors advising abortions ahead of time in case there are risks for the mothers in pregnancy. Also, that 12% number they gave is highly inflated. And so it's like, it's just a lot of times there's more to it than just like a number you're giving me. But
Yeah. What does
you
that
know.
have to do with the pay gap? I'm confused by that.
No, the point is that like a number.
Even if the thing is that Ethan did set himself up a little bit there by bringing up a number. You don't need to put a number in there. You don't. Someone is sending her notes on her phone. Yeah, I know. And you can tell, too, the way she's reading it, that it sounds like someone's literally texting her. What to say? Maybe it's like Andrew Tate.
Number you gave me earlier, like there was more to it.
Which number? Which one? I'm sorry. Go ahead. We'll unpack that.
The 12% of abortions are not done on the surgery table of the emergency room. These cases are overwhelmingly doctors advising abortions ahead of time in case there are
Says
risks
who?
for the mother
Yeah,
in pregnancy.
that sounds reasonable to me. I mean, a doctor's qualified to say this baby's going to put your life at risk. I would trust the doctor to say that, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Like, why
but they're
wait till-
saying,
why
they're,
wait
saying
till
they're saying that number's inflated.
Who's saying? They didn't say that. What you read did not say it's inflated.
No, I said also that 12% number they're giving you is highly inflated.
Based on what? Because what you just read to me doesn't disprove what I said at all. It actually makes perfect sense.
No, but they're saying it's inflated. I don't know.
They did not
So-
say that.
Who's they?
Yeah, they didn't say that.
So he doesn't want to say
who's
who.
they?
It's just someone I do research with. So it's
So just someone.
okay. Yeah, don't.
That's good. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Don't push, right? Here's an interesting
Oh
analysis I
my
thought maybe would be interesting.
god. She's getting fucking obliterated right now. Holy shit. Someone literally texted her.
Women don't do the dangerous jobs. Women are overrepresented in healthcare. You know that probably, right?
Yeah, it's the number one employer is nursing.
Then hopefully you can explain to me why, when you look at the pay of women versus men doctors, look, you can see this graph. There's a huge disparity of the average wage of male doctors versus female doctors. You can see here, and even this is from 2022, last year. This is again from the physician compensation report. Male doctors make on average $285,000 per year. Female doctors make on average $228,000 per year. So this is the women's field, and yet they're still making significantly less than their male counterparts.
Okay, does it say why?
No, this is
says
just raw data. This is just raw data.
I mean, you'd have to look at why. So
So we could justify this by saying
women work less hours.
no, but they work with less hours.
That's what I'm asking. That's
No,
what
this
I'm
is
asking.
this is controlled. They're working the same hours. They have the same qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well then maybe they are in that field. I don't know.
Okay, so the wage gap is more complicated, perhaps, than saying it's a myth.
It's possible.
Okay, that's nice to hear. So I would recommend, though, when you go out and do these shows and stuff, because when you talk about the wage gap, you're very adamant about it. Like, oh, this is a myth, and this is why, and you extract a lot of meaning from it. So I would recommend potentially approaching that topic with a little more nuance in the future. Especially if you're saying, well, yeah, maybe I'm wrong about this.
I love how she behaves, by the way, exactly like how she stereotypes other women for behaving, and then she also penalizes other women for that kind of behavior. The exact same behavior that she is behaving right now. She's walked through all the steps. She's literally been led like a dog on a leash to the fact that she's wrong. And when it comes time to just fucking admit it, she can't do it. She can't bring herself to do it.
But here's an excerpt so we can kind of see how you talk about these issues. Here it is.
I think in 2022, any girl that complains, I'm not talking about race because that's the first thing people always bring in. I'm talking about female to male. I think in 2022, if you're complaining about the pay gap as a woman, you're probably just lazy. I have never had a problem getting the same pay as a guy. One issue is that women.
No. So you kind of agree that women who complain about pay are just lazy?
Yeah, the majority of the women complaining about this stuff.
Yeah,
the majority of
women. What do you mean majority of women?
Oh my gosh, the majority of the women complaining about this
Based
stuff
on what?
are
Majority
just
of women?
whiners. Just what I see, whiners,
What
big
you see?
whiners.
What I see.
Yeah, I mean, because women, it's like, go.
You're arguing from emotion again.
All right, okay. Is that what you're gonna say every time you don't agree with me?
Oh no, you literally are just saying stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not that I disagree. I'm just saying if we want to have a conversation about this stuff, it'd be better if we don't argue from emotion and say, I feel that all women are complainers. Because that's not a productive point. Right? You see what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I still think that most women that complain about the pay gap are just whiners. They're big whiners. And I have never had trouble getting a job. I've never had trouble getting the same pay as a guy. And I think that in 2020...
She does this every time. Admits that she's wrong, bites all the bullets, is led to the fact that she's wrong, and then just goes back to the NPC diatribe.
It's just a bunch of excuses.
So what's your experience in the work? You use your own experience as an example of why women pay gap doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm not blind.
Well, hold on. What's your experience in the workforce?
I always had a job from like after high school in the summers. And I worked in corporate America, and then I did.
How long did you work in corporate America?
A couple of years.
A couple of years?
I'm only 26.
Right, you're only 26, and therefore I wouldn't put you in and you have maybe 1 or 2 years working in corporate America. Do you think that your experience is ample to say I've seen that women get paid equally to men? That seems disingenuous based on 1 year or 2 years, and you're only 26 years old.
Yeah, that's just my opinion.
Right. Okay. Okay, but I think we've established a little bit at least. You conceded a tiny bit to me that the wage gap is perhaps more complicated than yes or no.
If what you're showing me is real, you did this to someone else, but then there's like something else to it. But if what you're showing me is true,
yeah, it's all true. This is all sourced.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, you could easily look this up yourself.
Can I see the parameters for the control? I'm just curious.
Oh
Sure,
my god, I hate these people. What's the N value? That's like the desperate cries of a dying pigeon, by the way, okay? As soon as they start saying, like, what were the parameters of that? What was the N value? Then you know that they have no real response.
You can pull up the U.S. Department of Labor one.
The doctor one, can I see?
We've long since moved past, but I did find that study in the Rolotoni video, the Swedish study from several years ago about Swedish prison system. I'm not sure. We can loop back to that.
Wait, what was it? I'm unfamiliar.
Here, I had a bunch of tabs
Was it the
open.
felon one?
In the meantime, here, I'll send this in the Zoom chat if you want to take a look.
Oh, can you open it? Because I don't have the Zoom on my computer.
Oh,
Dan send a link to you. That I guess that's the parameters one.
That's the Department of Labor's 2019 study. There's a couple more. I guess we didn't.
I'm curious. What do you think it is? The wage gap?
Well, it's complicated, right? I don't think it's as simple as saying it's a myth and women who complain are lazy. That doesn't seem like a productive point to start that conversation. It is complicated.
What is your solution? Like, if you seem to think that the wage gap is real, right? And that do you think women are discriminated against?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Because what barriers do women have today in 2023? Like, I just genuinely don't understand.
Barriers, right? It's not about barriers. It's about norms. It's about like patriarchy. It's about the way that we perceive the value of people. It's not about barriers. There's no laws that say women can't do this and that. Obviously.
Okay, so there's no barriers right now?
No, not that I could think of.
Okay.
Pay transparency. I mean, I agree that in general,
Because
Wait,
Go ahead.
I thought he
Sorry,
just
go
said there
ahead,
were
sorry, go ahead.
barriers. Did I misunderstand?
I do think that there's a bit of discrimination going on. I do think that
There's social
behind closed
barriers.
doors, when there's no transparency in payment, this presupposition, by the way, that you putting forward that women are lazy and just making excuses, that doesn't help. That honestly, it's I don't know how to explain
you
it,
think- you
but I
think-
know it exists, right? I know it
So
exists.
you think the bosses behind closed doors say we should hire less women?
No, it's not a conscious
Or
thing,
like-
right? It's systemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then do you have it? Like, do you subconsciously pay women less?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. So
Yeah.
then wouldn't? Okay.
So because I don't pay women less, then
I'm just thinking if you think there's this like
You
subconscious.
can have yes, I've recognized subconscious biases within myself before. Yeah, absolutely. And recognizing it is very beneficial because then you can avoid it. I've recognized that with me before, even in the debate sphere stuff. I've recognized this. I've recognized sometimes when it's a female debater, just kind of thinking, not so much debating. Usually I take all debaters seriously when I'm the one debating. But if I'm ever watching one, I've noticed, not so much anymore, thankfully, but before, there were times where I've just felt like I'm not taking her as seriously for some reason. Or like when women say stuff, sometimes you tend to think of it as them being like whiny, even though when you step back, you're like, wait a minute, they're not actually whining right now. They're just like expressing their concern or being passionate or whatever. And there absolutely are ways that there are like subconscious biases that recognizing can be very, very beneficial. And again, doesn't mean that you're like an evil sexist.
Conscious thing.
Yeah.
Like then you.
Well,
I
but
would
it does
think-
exist, right? I mean, we
Maybe
can
ask
look at
for,
the
should the
studies.
women ask for raises at your?
Well, we're talking about you saying it's a myth, okay?
Yeah.
But it does exist. That's what's interesting.
It's not a
I don't think there's anything stopping you today. You could maybe argue. I can't even do this.
Social.
You can maybe argue like 50 years ago, but I just think in 2023 there are no barriers.
Did you say
See,
earlier?
this is why I would have wanted to debate Pearl right here. Is Ethan is doing really good, but he slipped up this part where he said like he doesn't really know, but he kind of knows. Like that is a weak fucking argument. This is why I wish that I had a chance to debate her, because if I got hit with this question, I would instantly say, yeah, women don't have any legal barriers right now, but there are still social barriers for sure. Subconscious biases, women face street harassment, stuff like this, far more confident. There are certain attitudes surrounding women, their appearance, and women being victimized. That is still very persistent. Pearl, for example, says that when women complain about men trying to fuck them, as if women or when women complain about like men making unwanted advances, she said, half these women complaining are just 5s or 6s. Oh, so you're suggesting now that assault or harassment is actually based on appearance. So now you're actually saying that if the woman's dressing inappropriately, that she's kind of warranting that kind of behavior, isn't she? But now even though she's not dressing inappropriately, you're still saying that now you're just saying she's making it up. Her stuff is so backwards, and she has a lot of that social
Later,
shit.
50 years ago wasn't that long ago? In regards to
Maybe
the draft?
100 years ago. Okay, fine, 100 years ago.
100
I was
years
just,
ago.
I'm saying in the past you could argue, but in 2023, I just don't think there's anything stopping you. I think it's like very much a victim mindset to
Social
tell women, like to go up telling us that we're oppressed. Like I think that I can do anything, minus like the physical stuff, but I think I can apply for any job a guy can if I want. I can go after any job that I want. I can ask for more money if I want, and I don't think that men are out there discriminating against women.
I
don't think
They
that
don't
I
have
don't
to
think that
be.
men are men are such capitalists. Men want to make money. It's like if women were so much cheaper, they would just hire all women.
Right. It's not how it works. But I've never claimed to have a solution, right? I'm just saying there is a problem. Which you
I'd
deny.
also say, I grew up in a family business too. So my dad hired people all the time, like over 200 employees.
Wasn't your mom the president? Was she the leader of the company?
What was you're researching my family now, huh?
Well, that's all
No,
public.
my mom. I mean, I don't know what they titled it. Like I don't.
Your
think they
mom
really
was the president, I believe. But
Yeah,
based on
I mean, they might
English,
have titled it one thing or another. My mom did more of the marketing sales side. My dad did the engineering and the software.
Okay.
I think they wanted to get some grant, so I think like they might have had her, like they did that to get some grant from the government or something. I don't remember, but
So, is that a crime?
Yeah, you probably
no.
shouldn't say that on air.
We can cut that out.
Parents
if
might
you
not
want.
like that.
So I guess again we're kind of hitting a wall on this topic. But what I would say is this:
But-
is that I don't claim to have a solution. I'm rebutting your claim that the pay gap is a myth, because it's not a myth. It exists. I don't know how to fix it. I'm just saying it's not a myth. That's an oversimplification, and it's dishonest.
So Pearl is just the reason this is looping is because she's refusing to bite the bullet. That this is the reality. That there is in fact part of it. That is the wage gap does exist to an extent. She's conceded it, which means that claiming it's a myth is by definition wrong. But she just can't concede that part. Pearl, you're living in the Matrix right now. I thought you said red pill is looking at reality the way it is, remember? Not how you want it to be. Well, here's reality the way it is, Pearl, and you're denying it. I think you're still in the Matrix.
Yeah, I just don't. I think most of the pay gap you can attribute, and you even agreed to this, the 77 cents to 3%, like, is very different. I think the majority of the pay gap
3%.
you can.
Oh, you mean the uncontrolled?
Yeah, the
it's more
70,
than
like
3%, but I agree that it's lower. Yeah, it's a lot lower.
And even
I need to go
even with
back.
that, like
3%. Claimed that the pay gap is a myth. This is not a myth.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't say that on air.
I'd heard. I might have titled it one thing or another. My mom did more of the, like, I don't.
Your
think
mom
it
was the president, I believe. But
Yeah, you're researching my family now, huh?
But that's all
No,
public.
my mom.
Hold on, let me go back because I was distracted by the game, and apparently, what did she just confess to, like, tax evasion or tax evasion on her family's part?
Mom, I mean, I don't know what they titled it. Like, I don't.
Your
think they
mom
really
was the president, I believe. But
Yeah,
based on
I mean, they might
have.
have titled it one thing or another. My mom did more of the marketing sales side. My dad did the engineering and the software.
Okay.
I think they wanted to get some grant, so I think, like, they might have had her, like, they did that to get some grant from the government or something. I don't remember, but.
So, yeah, is that a crime?
Yeah, you
don't
probably
know.
shouldn't say that on air.
We can cut that out.
Parents
if
might
you
not
want.
like that.
I don't understand. They, like, labeled her wrong or something? What do they do?
So I guess, again, we're kind of hitting it's not a myth. That's an oversimplification, and it's dishonest.
Yeah, I just don't. I think most of the pay gap you can attribute, and you even agreed to this, the 77 cents to 3%, like, is very different. I think the majority of the pay
77
gap
to 3%.
you can. I just would guess there's more to it because I just don't see.
Is there anything else you want to guess at today?
I don't think that men have this evil. I think it's silly. It's silly to think that men have this evil coalition where they just unconsciously discriminate against women.
I agree.
And
That's not what's
yeah.
happening.
That isn't
That's the oversimplification.
Women do it too,
Speaking of
actually.
coalitions, what do you think about the Jews? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't have any.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Keep me on
I'm
that.
just kidding. That's not a serious question. Let's talk about some of your really interesting ideas on this one here. You say men want younger women. This is something I've heard you say quite a few times here. I'll play this clip to set it up.
person that will get me at 40 years old, at 50 years old, is getting a different version than he had when I was 18, 20 years old.
But it's a less valuable version to men.
No, that's not the right man for me because
No, it's not. It's not the right man for you. It's how men can't help what they're attracted to. No, it is all men. They can't. If you survey men between the ages of 20 and 80, they're all the most attracted to 22-year-olds. I peaked 3 years ago, and you guys did too. At 20, 22, 23, and this is men between the age of 20 and 80. So what men value is purity, youth, and fertility. And so, like, what would you be able to offer to a guy?
So that's something I've heard you say. Obviously, you strongly believe that, right? That women who are past the age of 22, their value goes down, and all men just want young girls. So I guess what's the message behind this? What is it? Who are you speaking to, and what is it that?
I mean, it's just true. Men do want younger women.
Well,
I mean,
right. I want to ask you this before we get into that. What is your message? Who are you speaking to, and what is it you're hoping that they take from this?
By the way, when she says that, even that's incorrect. It shouldn't be men want younger women. It's that men generally prefer younger women. Because if you look, she's right that most men will say that they're comfortable being with women that are a little bit younger, within their 20s kind of thing. But then when you look at the type of women or the ages of women that they actually sleep with, they tend to be far closer to their own age. What people say they prefer, their ideal, is not always reflected by their actual behavior.
I mean, I just believe in speaking about things that are true. And I think a lot of times as women, we're told that we can just wait forever, get married at 35, and have a bunch of kids, and that's just not true.
Who's saying that?
I just think it's the message that's pushed by the media and culture today.
I just feel like
so.
The media is telling women to get married at 35?
I mean, what have you ever seen? Like, what's a homemaker that's on TV?
You mean like in a sitcom, or you mean like in a
No,
show?
but I'm saying, like, we don't have them in the media and the culture.
Oh,
Like,
you
family
think
really
where's our
isn't.
homemakers?
It's really family really isn't pushed. And so I'm not saying it to dog on women, but I just think a lot of times, like, we're lied to. I mean, we have.
What? There's never any families on TV nowadays?
They don't want younger women. You know,
I don't
men
think
are
that's what ageism
constantly
is.
men are
It's not
constantly
ageist.
shamed when they have a standard. So it's not. I mean, that's like a conversation from
not
I don't know, a
being
3-hour
ageist.
episode. I don't remember the
I've heard you bring it
context.
up a lot. I know this.
Yeah, because it's true.
So you're-
And a lot of
so you're
times with
speaking-
women.
You're speaking to women. You're saying past 22, your value's
mean,
going
that's-
down. And,
Yes,
and your
to
message,
men,
your
men. And your value on the sexual marketplace. So your value, like, that doesn't mean like your personal worth. I'd like to just clarify that, but yeah.
and so your message to them is nothing. You're just saying that because it's true. I mean, why
I mean,
not just say the sun is hot?
I mean, don't wait till 35 to get married. Get married as young as you can.
Right, get married as young as you can.
Yeah.
Now, you seem to offer a lot of advice to. Who you're mostly giving advice to women? Would you say?
That didn't age well because she says men shouldn't get married because it's like a ploy against men. All of their shit is like the opposing advice. It's like It's like, women go get married, men never get married. Haha, why are women not married? They suck. It's like, how do you guys not realize how stupid?
I wouldn't really. Okay. I wouldn't really. I guess sure.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think I've heard you say that even. And then so men.
Like I wouldn't say I'm like an advice channel, like do this.
Charlie
I mean, it's
is my
more
God.
talking about the state of relationships today is a better way that I would put it.
Charlie is
get
like-
older, not like super old, but their value goes up. And as a man's value on the sexual marketplace goes up, they're looking for younger virgins, right? That's important. And so any woman who's not
Well, historically, virginity has always been a prerequisite for marriage. Like 100 years ago, 85% of women didn't admit to premarital sex. So
what we did 100 years
saying,
ago doesn't predict anything.
Well,
to
I'm
do
saying
with
the outcomes are better for women. Like the outcomes are obviously better. We have more women on anti.
No, they're not. Valuing virginity and treating it like that is your fucking value? What? Yeah, that was so much better for women, man. For sure. Especially, you know, the women that got abused. To be abused and then simultaneously, not only are you going through one of the most traumatic things you can imagine going through in your entire life, but now it means that your value's gone as well. Yeah, women had it so much better back then, didn't they, Pearl? God. The only reason anybody, or you know what, let me say it this way. The only reason women had it better back then is because you weren't born yet, Pearl. That's it.
Depressants than ever before, and it's tough because there are studies both ways when it comes to female happiness, but most of the ones that I've seen indicate that women are unhappy over a certain age without children, that most women wanted to have kids at some point in their life. And I just think, and you can see what happens in front of you. Like you're not blind. Women are happier with a family.
So again, you're doing the "I'm not blind. I see this," which is like again kind of an emotional argument. Antidepressants didn't
You
exist.
just want to call me
100 years ago.
emotional today. That's just your.
Oh yeah,
your go-to.
antidepressants
Well,
didn't
it's
exist then.
it's hard to have a conversation
The
with somebody who
sexism
says,
that I face, the sexism I face in this country, I just get called emotional.
Right. Well, it's hard to have a conversation with somebody.
Dude, come on, there was. See, this is what she would have done to me. Oh, I am hurting right now that I did not get to debate her.
Who just says, "I feel this." You know what I mean? It's like how do you address that in a conversation? You say, "I see this. I'm not blind." I mean, that's not really a concrete.
Well,
point.
I listed before that.
Let's talk
So
about those.
yeah.
Antidepressants didn't exist 100 years ago. What relevance does that have on the happiness of women then and now?
I mean, we're seeing them get more and more on antidepressants.
Well, men are on antidepressants
Again,
too. I think those
we're not
probably
talking about men.
But if men and women are getting on antidepressants at the same rate, then it doesn't.
Why can't we have a conversation about women without talking about the men?
Because
it doesn't.
the
It's like 90%. I can't answer.
What? Because you're trying to make it a conversation about only women, Pearl. That's why. Because you're not saying like, hey, women really have a tough time right now because of unique struggles that women face. You're trying to say that this is like because women no longer value their virginity. You're making it about women. So them bringing up men is also a counter to your point. She can't even follow a basic conversation. Oh my gosh.
Your questions if you keep interrupting me when I'm trying to answer you.
Go ahead.
So it's like 90% of women are on contraceptive or have been on contraceptives at some point in their life. One out of 4 women have an STD. 1 out of 3 women has had an abortion. It's like these aren't good numbers. Like, do you genuinely think that sleeping around is good for women?
I don't think, in my opinion, mass sleeping around like you're talking about like 100 plus partners isn't good for men or women.
Okay. Do you
opinion.
think sleeping with multiple partners is good?
I think it's completely fine. I don't think there's an issue with women having
Do you think
multiple
it's
partners.
do you think it's good for them? Do you think it's good for
I think
women?
it depends on the person and the relationships. I mean, the premise is
It's
neutral.
literally a neutral. Thank you, Ethan. Yeah, it is a net neutral. It is not a good or a bad necessarily. It depends who the person is.
The premise doesn't imply, people, men and women have good and bad relationships. Some benefit them, some don't.
Overall, multiple partners. You would say good for women or bad for women?
I literally cannot
average-
answer that question because it makes no sense. It depends on the relationships. But let's say this. I'll answer it. I'll say I think it's good to get more experiences in life and to have multiple partners. I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it's not good.
Why?
So,
Do you think it's good for men?
I think because it leads to more heartbreak.
Heartbreak?
Do you think it's good
like
for men?
women sleeping with multiple people. I don't think that's a good thing.
You can get heartbroken without sleeping with someone.
Yeah, but that's true. But I just don't think it's the same. Women attach through
You think
sex.
it's not the same. Men attach to sex too, by the way.
Yeah, first of all, men are attached to sex too. The idea that like men are these emotionless fucking machines and they just have no feelings involved is actually kind of disgusting and a really bad mentality to have about men. Like, there's pretty common conversations that go on in like feminist circles about like how a lot of a lot of these expectations kind of erase like the woman having pleasure during sex as well, and how it's like kind of made to be just about the man. But in a way, this is almost like doing it like the reverse way. This is insane. Like, no, men just what? They're emotionless. They just fuck without feelings. Like, that's just not true. it can be true, but you know what? It can be true for women too. There are some women that can sleep around and not have attachment or emotions and like get attached because of it. And I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. It seems like a really weird thing to like whine about.
Yeah, but we're not talking about men. I'm talking about women.
But you, so
I don't think sleeping around is great for men either. But I don't think it's the same for men and for women.
hold on, you keep saying let's talk about women, and I just want to say,
and
if there is a communal experience, then it's worth bringing up. Like you say, more women are antidepressants, but if men are on antidepressants in the same trajectory, then that would imply that it doesn't have to do with anything to do with women being promiscuous. It's more of a societal thing that affects both genders equally.
Thank you.
yeah. Wait, say that one more time. I'm sorry.
If men and women are both on antidepressants
Pearl is really regretting taking that Xanax before going on this podcast.
at the same rate, then that would suggest something on a larger societal issue, and not because women are promiscuous. So I think that is worth bringing up.
I mean, you could argue a lot of societal issues have come from women being promiscuous.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could if 85% of women were virgins 100 years ago and everyone's on antidepressants, maybe
So was society perfect 100 years ago?
Maybe it doesn't have good outcomes for women.
Society was perfect 100 years ago when women were virgins?
I didn't say perfect, but there was more intact families. Which
The
I think
life
is
expectancy was like 50 back then, just so you know.
I did not say. I don't know what does that have to do with anything.
Well, you're saying the quality of life. I mean, things were better back
No,
then.
I said we had more intact families, which I think is important.
Okay. Let's talk
Why
about.
does nobody go this route? Why do they not talk about that? Having an intact family at the expense of the woman's own well-being is a problem.
We were talking about.
But she had to be with the man.
We were on the topic of men wanting younger women. Here, did I finish this clip?
I just learned a lot from them, so I'd love to hear this side.
Oh, this is the pay-gap one. Sorry. Men want younger women. We watched this whole clip. So I was just trying to basically apply it to your life if I can. It's like, so older men, when they have money, they have status, they're going to want a younger and more virgin woman. So I have a bit of a question, and I'm being honest here. Is it possible and you look at men, right, in terms of like their viability. You look at men and say, he's a high value man, he's a medium value man, he's a low value man, right? And we can say that. We can put men into those categories. Okay. So let's say you're in the dating field, right? You're looking for a partner. Right?
What do you mean?
I mean, you're single, essentially, I guess, and you're looking for a significant...
Maybe not.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you're looking for men, if a man who is willing to settle, let's say you're not that old, but you're 26, and you say that anyone over 25 is like almost damaged goods or getting worse and worse.
No.
It's less valuable. It's less valuable.
Correct. Yes, I would say I was more
goods.
valuable 5 years ago. Yes, in terms of the dating market. Yes.
So do you think that, how can somebody who's older and not a virgin and less valuable, how can they get in a relationship with a man and not think they're a loser? Because if you're a low value woman, then in a sense, you'd be judging the guy who's quote unquote settling for you because he couldn't get a higher value woman. So in a sense, a guy that you would settle for would be a loser by your own metrics. Low value.
Well, what are men supposed to do? 95% of women aren't virgins on their wedding days. You could be a multimillionaire and not get a virgin.
How do you?
But I think that's why you see more men walking away from relationships.
No. How do you
Yeah.
enter a relationship and not think that he's a loser because he's low value?
I don't.
That's a total contradiction, by the way, because she constantly talks about how women initiate more divorces. So what?
Really know how to answer that question.
But it is interesting, right? Because in a sense, only a low value man, and I'm sorry, I'm only framing this in your worldview. Let's say a medium value man would decide to settle on somebody like you who's a little bit older, not as fertile. You are not a virgin. And also, I'll tell you something else. You like being in the foreground, which is not good for traditional marriages. I mean, he's looking for someone who wants to build a home. You don't know how to cook.
Yeah,
either.
I don't expect to be with like a high value guy. I think that's silly.
Okay. What's your
when I think of high value, I think of like top 5% of men.
So what value do you think
Very-
you'll be settling on in your own personal life?
What value will I be settling on in my
what
personal?
man do you think is reasonable for you to pursue?
I just kind of I think that's a bit of a inappropriate question. But
That's interesting because you spend like all day talking about this stuff. I find that it's really interesting to have you put this analysis into use. Why is it?
Well, because the way
inappropriate?
you're framing the question is a bit disingenuous.
How?
She asks people this kind of stuff all the time, and now all of a sudden she's in the hot seat, and it's really uncomfortable and inappropriate.
I think most women, and
How is it disingenuous?
Yeah, I think it's a bit disingenuous.
Why? Why? Why is it disingenuous? I'm analyzing your viability by your own metrics, which you do all day to other women and men. Why is that disingenuous?
I don't. Okay.
Like, I think it's fair to say, because we're talking to
Oh, I'm starting to realize why she didn't want to debate me right now. Oh my God, this is glorious. This is so satisfying.
Women about expectations and men about expectations based on their value. I think it's fair to say, okay, well, what's your value of man you're looking for based on your own?
What's my value to a guy that I'm looking
No.
for?
What value
No,
of
like
man?
I wish I don't know what you want me to say. Like I wish I was a virgin. You know, I should have waited.
No.
Like I don't know what. Like I don't. You know, most guys don't expect that in 2023. Unfortunately, I think men adapt to the market, but I think to say that you should just sleep around is a bit silly.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking.
Well, yeah, you were saying that like that more partners is good. I think that's a bit silly.
Okay,
I think
hold on. I'm talking about you, Pearl. I'm talking about you. Your value by your own metrics is going to be not super high. So,
yeah, it's less high than it was 5 years ago.
But it's not even just the age thing. It's like you are working. You're in the foreground. You don't know how to cook. These are not good things for your scorecard.
Hey, I'm actually pretty good now. I've gotten,
You have a okay, good. You're working towards it, but unfortunately, as you age, those things are going to bounce out.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like you start in a certain place in life, but all you can do is improve and get better.
That's interesting. I agree. So what is the point of telling people that they're?
Because a lot of times we're lied to. We're not even told what men want. Being told that men want younger women is like crazy, even though that's
not true, by the way. That's not true, by the way.
Men don't want younger women. They want, okay, who's hotter? A 50-year-old is equally as hot as a 20-year-old, just based on looks and nothing else.
So, yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be. But like, how do you meet a guy that you respect because he's settling on you? Don't you see that there's a paradox here?
I mean, if you respect men, you don't like.
But how are you going to settle for a low value man? Because like that, it's like, dude, come on.
A low value man.
A low value man.
I think if you get married, you're lucky to get married. That's my opinion. Okay. So I would feel very lucky. If I was married, I would feel.
So you'll take anything.
So any guy who gets any guy
no, I
who
won't take
fuck
anything.
you're happy.
Your standards are quite low.
I didn't say. That's not what I said, but okay.
You said I'll be happy if I get married. I don't, you know what I mean? Hey,
yeah,
anybody marries me would be great.
I didn't say to anyone.
But you just said you wouldn't.
How would you?
Say
so where's your value as a woman? Would you say like on a scale of 1 to 10?
I give myself like a 5.
A 5? Yeah, that's fair. I think. I mean, based on your metric, I'm not saying one way or the other. So we're looking for.
I think I'm a 5. So
you're saying that.
I think she is a -5 actually. She may have been like closer to a 3 when we're talking about her kind of score, but the retardation really took her down multiple pegs.
All men want to have sex with younger women. This is kind of interesting data, but are you aware that the MILF category is like the most popular? It was the #1 most searched term in 2018, MILF.
Yeah, men like to have sex with older women.
But why is it the most searched for?
Yeah,
they're looking for MILFs, and when they watch porn.
Are you saying porn is the same thing as marriage and relationships?
You say men want to have sex with young girls. Why then are men when
younger women? When you say young girls, that's a bit.
Okay, 22. I mean, what do you want me to say? Okay, young women, 22-year-olds. Why then are they going to Pornhub and looking up MILFs if they just want to, if they prefer? And this is the most searched. Wouldn't they be searching for like teen or something? 2018, yeah.
You know, men aren't that picky. You know what I mean?
No. It's not about picky. It's about preference. They look for.
Okay, so I have a question. Why do you think
she's dying? Right? She's literally floundering out right now. Oh my God.
The #1, like they swipe right on younger women.
That's
do you think it's equal? An 18 or 22-year-old versus a 50-year-old woman in terms of looks? Now I'm asking, do you think it's equal? Are you equally attracted to the average 55-year-old versus 22-year-old?
Average, or I mean, it's not just the age, though, right?
I would be more equally attracted to someone closer to my age where I am in life, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Same
here. Yeah, I would
maybe
say,
like -5 years.
Yeah, but younger typically. Not older.
Yeah, well, plus or minus 5 years.
Younger.
Yeah, younger. Right.
Plus or minus 5 years.
Okay, you said younger first, but
I'm telling you, plus or minus.
Okay.
There's no take backsies. No take backs. You said younger. Yeah, but so how do you explain that?
Most women want to date 5 to 7 years older. I think men go like 5 years younger.
Is there any way to explain why MILF is the most searched category?
Guys like to watch, a hot mom have sex. Yeah.
More than a young girl have sex, apparently.
Are they the top porn stars? Because I thought those were younger women. I thought it was like the ones that, I mean, I don't actually watch that stuff, so I don't know.
I don't know the stats, but I'm just telling you based on search that people are looking up MILF way more than teen and stuff like that. So that is interesting, though.
Do you think it's better for a woman to get married at 35 than 22?
I think it's neutral. I think it depends on a lot of things. I do think women who get married young have a higher rate of divorce.
Yeah, it's like below the age of like 21 or 18 or something. I don't remember.
So that kind of disproves your thesis, doesn't it? If younger women are getting divorced,
I'd say overall younger is better than older.
But if younger women are getting divorced more, and you're
the youngest, not younger. But we also wait to get married. The average age of first marriage in the UK is like 31.
Yeah, but our life expectancy is like double what it was, so it's not really a fair comparison.
That doesn't change biology. Like, so when it comes to children, like women are still the most fertile when they're younger. So, I mean, we can have a cultural shift, but it doesn't change your biology.
Well, we have a scientific shift too. We have methods of making it easier for older women to have babies. Yeah. So like the cultural shift is
You're talking
matching the
about IVF.
scientific.
You're talking
IVF,
about-
it's not just IVF. There's fertility treatments you can get. I've done it with my wife. It's less invasive. It's like taking hormones and stuff. And so the
I
science.
can pull up the numbers, but the majority of IVF fails, especially over a certain age. I can pull it up.
So.
But so I think it's expensive too. It's like the average IVF is like $30,000.
Yeah, most fertility
So-
treatments isn't IVF. There's less invasive, less impactful, less expensive things that you can do that are really effective.
Right. I mean, you can,
Oh,
but
I'm
again,
so
most
dead.
people are living paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford a bunch of fertility treatments.
Okay.
Like I think that's easy for you to do, right? You're in a great position.
It should
in
be
life.
free, I
Average,
agree.
but no, I don't think that
Goodbye.
you should pay for other people's decisions. I think if you want to make that decision, you should pay for it. But I just think that's an easy thing for you to say when you're in like you do such great numbers. I'm sure you do really well income wise.
Thank you for saying that. We shouldn't pay for what other people do. Should we pay for prisoners or should we execute them all?
Those are my only options.
Well, we shouldn't pay
It's
for.
either pay for prison or execute them.
Okay, right. That's
Either
extreme.
the two.
In a sense, though, I'm trying to make it like a somewhat.
Like that's
Because-
a tough question.
Well, prisoners cost on average like $30,000 a year. The average prisoner,
Yeah.
or even more now.
I think
Probably
it's
like
significantly more. I think it's like close to
45,000.
70,000 or something like that.
70,000.
Let me look it up. I'll look it up. So I
That's
got the right.
crazy. Because the IVF is obviously way cheaper than that. So what do we do about them?
To execute or put them in. Well,
Or what else? I mean, what would you do with prisoners? We're spending $45,000 a year. What do we do with them?
Yeah, the average is it looks like 45,000.
45,000. IVF probably costs like 10,000.
I mean, what are they in prison for? I don't know much about. It's kind of a different, topic, but I do think we should execute.
Well, they're all
rapists.
costing us the same amount of money,
Rapists we
45,000.
can execute, and murderers. Yeah, we can. The rest, I don't really know. I don't have a strong opinion.
Well,
but
IVF,
in
let's say,
general,
costs
but
10,000.
I guess prison would make a bit more sense because you want a safe society, so that's something everybody benefits from. But I don't benefit if Susie down the streets waits till she's 35 to get married.
But
and
then
then decides
her
to
family will be
friends.
stronger. She's less likely to get divorced. The kids will grow up in a
she
stable
could-
household.
I mean, or she could do that when she's younger. Like again, we're
Right,
always
but that's
trying
not
to
how it works, and you know that. You look at the stats. Younger people are more likely to get divorced. Young people don't make as much money. Younger people have less time to spend.
What do you mean by young? So like
Like-
I think the stat I saw was under the age of 21, but it's like between above that the divorce rate's very similar.
Do you think women under 21 should get married?
Yeah, if they want to. I think people.
she
I'm
doesn't
not
care
forcing
about the
anyone to do
kids.
anything, but I think more time you can spend with a husband rather than just like out on the dating market. I think that's better. I think less experience is better.
What?
So here's an interesting.
It's
analysis.
actually like the polar opposite somehow. They somehow have like the polar opposite perspective for men versus women. For men, it's more experience equals good. For women, it's more experience equals bad. Like it's not even nuanced. There's not even a gray area. Oh my God.
regarding men wanting to sleep with younger women.
The top.
So I've been trying to source that figure. By
How
the-
old is Abella Danger? How old is she?
How old is Abba? She's 27. That's pretty old in your world, isn't it?
Lana Rhodes, Riley Reid. Yeah, but that's not a MILF.
No.
'Cause I think for us, it's like 18
Rhodes'
to
age.
28.
Lana
typically.
Rhodes is
Lana Rhodes is 26.
26. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
again,
18
the
to
most
20
searched.
It's
But like,
18 to 28,
just
which is
because they're the most popular doesn't mean it's the most
the
popular
top- it
category.
says-
Also, they're 26 is over the hill, right?
the top
Yeah.
categories I have is ebony, lesbian, threesome.
I don't see any 22-year-old head large mainstream porn
I
stars.
mean, 22 versus 26. It's not that. Like we say, 18 and 28 is a woman's peak.
20. What is the women's peak?
Between 18 and 28. I mean, it
28.
slowly declines after like 22 or 23. It slowly declines, but
Excuse me.
18 to 28 is a
And
woman's
peak as in what? What does peak mean?
peak, like looks wise.
Okay, looks wise.
Mhm.
So I've been trying. This claim that men between ages 20 and 80 want to have sex with 22-year-olds. I haven't been able to find any source for that. The only source I've been able to find is from this
Can we
book.
put the prisoners to work?
Say what?
Can we put the prisoners to work?
They already
Yeah.
do. Yeah, they
That's
do.
exactly what we do
They're
for me.
slaves already. They work for like 10 cents an hour.
Yeah, but only.
They profit
yeah, but-
private corporations, by the way. It doesn't benefit you at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a good system.
You seem very knowledgeable in the prison system. I wouldn't call myself a prison expert.
Yeah, and
you
that's
know?
that's fair. We don't need to. I don't expect you to be. So, in terms of sourcing, this claim that old men want to have sex with, not old men, all men want to have sex with 22-year-olds around that age. The only source for that I could
So
find.
they find that the most attractive.
The only source for that I could find was a book called.
Can you look up
Catechism.
what's the okay, yeah.
The way that these numbers are sourced is pretty poor. So it's not really that high quality of a source. But I'll read you the results. It does say women that men find they're most interested in are women of their similar age,
But they found the 23-year-olds the most attractive.
but not the most.
How did
most
they source interested in and desirable?
I think
How
it
did
means.
they just ask them?
It's the whole
I'm
study
just
is pretty
curious how
bad.
they-
It wasn't even really a study. This was a book. And I'm sorry if this isn't what you got your statistics from, but it was the closest thing that we could find to the stats that you were laying out. And it did, again, it has shown that 20 to 50 men, when asked who they find the most attractive, the answers generally fall in that range 20 to 23. However, this wasn't really a study. This was a book by the CEO of OkCupid, and he was basing all of this off of analyzing the raw data from OkCupid. And this was in 2014, so it was about a decade ago.
But they're most interested.
Right, and they found the same conclusion that Ethan just pointed out, that though they may find younger women more attractive, who they are interested in dating falls generally much closer to their own age.
But if you have
Same thing the OkCupid data showed, by the way, when they talk about women saying men aren't that attractive, because women were given different pictures of men, and it was on OkCupid. That was the dating app, or the dating site. They were shown different pictures of men, and it basically found that women were pretty stingy with their rating of men's attractiveness. And red pillars will bring that up to be like, women never think men are attractive. They even think the best looking guys are just average. Oh, that's kind of, I think, where they might get like the like 70% of men are not worthy of women or something, the incel talking point. But they always leave out the fact that that study did show also that although women were a little stingy with their rating about attractiveness, they messaged the guys that they rated as like moderate, medium kind of attractive level at much higher rates than they messaged the guys who they viewed as being really attractive.
better source on that, I'd love to hear it, because we look.
Even if you look at dating app data, like what? Because it all starts with
That's what
looks
this
for
is.
men.
This is
But I'm
dating.
saying it starts with looks for men. You're not going to get in the door unless you look a certain way.
It starts for looks for everybody, by the way. This whole like dating thing where people are like, it's just your personality that matters. No, I'm sorry, it's not true, okay? What matters is your personality for the long-term growth and success of the relationship. That's what your fucking personality matters for, okay? Appearance does matter when you're trying to get initial dates, when you're trying to get initial interest. Someone's not going to get to know your personality if they don't first find you attractive enough to approach, so long as that's the context. Obviously, if you're just meeting people at like school or something, it's not like you have to find them attractive one way or the other, but you know what I mean. When we're talking about dating type shit, looks do matter. That is going to determine whether or not you can get initial interest. And then it's with that initial interest that your personality starts to shine through. But when I say that, that's not also to say that like if you're ugly, you're doomed. I think that a lot of people, to be honest, they think they're ugly, but there are so many simple things that they can do to improve their appearance. So I've noticed like there's some people, like especially I remember when I was younger, like seeing people who I'm like, dude, this guy is not very good looking, but if he just like shaved his face, put on deodorant, and brushed your teeth, then you'd already have somewhat of a one-up, okay? Then get some clothes that fit you decently. Not some massive, don't go out wearing a tux or something crazy, but you know, get some clothes that fit you. If you're a little overweight, okay, maybe work on that, but for the time being, get some clothes that are tight kind of on the upper area, but loosen up down by your gut. Better fitting, look better, stuff like that.
So,
Well,
I
they
mean,
make it attractive.
there's some older women that sure, right, that look good enough to get into the door, but it starts with swiping, and that starts with looks. So if they find the 22-year-old's the most attractive, that's what you need to get in the door first. It's not to say that every woman over the age of 30 or 35 is like done for completely, but it's going to be a lot harder, and I think it's dishonest to say it's going to be equally as easy to date when you're 35 versus 22.
Yeah, I didn't say that. But you're saying men.
Men tend to, in general, like younger women.
But
Find younger women more attractive.
But
I don't
not
think
who
it's
they're
accurate to
interested
Right,
say
but
they
it starts.
They're
But everything
interested.
starts. But men, it starts with looks. So you don't get into the door unless you look a certain way.
I think
You-
you're making
you
a big
disagree-
generalization about all men.
Okay, do you disagree with that? You don't think it starts?
I think a
with
lot of
looks?
men have a lot of different preferences, and I think a lot of men's consideration of what.
I think that they're taking the wrong route here. I think that it's true that men care about looks, but I think women care about looks to a degree also. I think that obviously if you're like a really cute looking guy and you're in good shape and you smell nice, that you're going to pique some women's interest and attention. That's just inevitable. That's true. I don't know why they're going this way. I feel like they're overcomplicating it almost. It's like, yeah, generally people care a little bit about looks, especially like initially when dating, but I don't think that's just like men thing. I think it's just a dating thing.
attractive as a huge variance as well.
Okay.
So when you say good looks get you in the door, I mean attraction is pretty subjective, don't you think?
I think that beauty is subjective, but I think ugliness is objective. So I think that it's like objectively true that Pearl is an ugly person.
I think that it starts with looks for men.
And looks is pretty subjective,
I would
wouldn't you
say no. I would say it's not. I would say men tend to find the same things attractive.
Beauty is objective.
Based on
That's an
what?
interesting take. Okay.
Based on what?
I would say dating app data.
Which ones?
It's not. This is so fucking stupid, dude. No, actually, people in general find pretty much the same thing attractive, which is symmetry. Okay? When you have a symmetrical face, that's attractive to human beings.
I don't know off the top of my head,
This
Ethan.
one up from OkCupid said men are most interested in men of their own age. Or sorry, women of their own age.
It said women. They find women the most attractive at 22, or 23,
Yeah,
right?
but they
And
want to date.
My argument
They don't
is
want to
that
date them though. They don't want to date them.
Yeah, they find them more attractive.
You guys don't let me finish. Is my argument is you need looks to get in the door.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
What does that have to do with being
if you find
22?
that the most attractive, men tend to find younger women more attractive.
I think you have a really
I think it's like dishonest to say. Do you really think it's equally as easy to date for a woman at 35 versus 22?
again, nobody said that.
Okay. Okay. Do you think it's harder for the 35-year-old in general?
I think there's less options as you get older.
Yeah, of course. I think
For men
that's
too.
very
For men
intuitive.
too.
And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for
men
both
too.
Yeah, but
partners.
do you think it's equal? Do you think men have less options equally as much as women?
As they get older,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, who fucking knows?
No, like, no, I'm asking your opinion.
You're asking my opinion. My
If
opinion is
women-
that it's probably similar.
if-
Probably similar.
If women, yeah, see, I disagree because I
Based
saw
on
a
what?
different dating app that the most. No, I saw it different. I think it was.
So I think Ethan's problem right now, to be fair, Ethan's doing great, and I'm not like debate god over here, so again, I'm just saying my opinion. But I think that Ethan's part of his problem right now that he's struggling with a little bit, despite doing obviously far better than Pearl the entire time, is almost being too confrontational. He seems unwilling to bite some bullets that conceding doesn't actually affect the argument much. So let me go back because he just did it again. Now I can't remember what it was.
either okay, cute. If women, yeah, see, I disagree because
You're asking my opinion. My
If
opinion is that
women-
it's probably similar.
if-
Oh, who has more options as they get older? Yeah, men have more options as they get older. It's true that men tend to be generally more attracted to younger women on average, whereas men tend to have more options as they get older because they start to establish themselves and have wealth and status and shit of that nature, which does matter sometimes to some women, depending on the type of relationship she's pursuing. Again, if she's pursuing a traditional relationship, like what these people advocate for, then it only makes sense that she would be interested in a man who has wealth.
Similar.
if women, yeah, see, I disagree because I
Based
saw a
on what?
different dating app that the most. No, I saw it different. I think it was either okay, Cupid or Plenty of Fish. I can't remember which one, but it was like the most swiped right on age for women was 18, and the most swiped right on age
Well,
for
that's
men
just
was.
volume, dude. I mean, there's way more younger
50.
people on dating apps than older
for sure.
people. Like, if you look at age
Well, I mean,
distribution,
and you
it'd be
could-
vast majority of younger
Yeah,
people.
well, and when they asked men what age they preferred to date, I think it was like 5 to 7, like 5 years younger was the average, and women it was 5 to 7 years older. So even if we just go off of women's preferences, like men would have more options when they get older because women want older men.
That's all just, you're just saying stuff. I mean, you're just saying stuff based on what you think is real. But I don't think any of that is necessarily true.
I mean, I could find it.
What
I
she's
mean, I don't
doing
have like
right
a
now
team.
also is a big correlation thing. Like, so a lot of what she's talking about here is purely correlation. Women don't really want older men. They tend to like men that have themselves established, have roots. That tends to happen for men as they get older. It's not that they're older. He could be a fucking 40-year-old bum. She's not going to be like, oh, because he's 40, oh, kind of thing. It's that age, as men get older, it's associated with being more established and having your shit together more. For men, it's when she talks about the young thing too, like part of that is biological. People associate, I don't want to say youth because that sounds really like creepy. Not like youth, but like young adults. They tend to associate that with fertility. It's a biological thing. Excuse me, not fertility, health. But younger means healthier, means better potential mate for offspring. Part of it is an evolutionary thing too. So again, some of these preferences though are oftentimes correlated with other things that are the root preference. So like, I don't think men necessarily prefer just like young women. I think it's that like, if your goal is to have a family, then odds are you're going to want somebody who is more likely to provide you with children. And that is associated with health and with being a little bit of a younger adult. So I think that like, even these kind of conversations could have more nuance, but she just is really oversimplifying it to just, women just want older men. Men just want younger girls.
Like you guys have.
Yeah, but well, you say this stuff all the time on your show, so I would expect you to be somewhat familiar with the.
I mean, it just depends on, like, sometimes you forget which one.
Sure.
You know,
You want to name a couple it could be from?
give me a second, I'll find it.
From your friend texting you.
Did you know that the number 5 porn star of all time is Lisa Ann? She's 51 years old. Brandy Love is number 8. She's 50. Men, they like MILFs, man. Men like MILFs. They like experienced women that know what they're doing. They like men like that.
Do you think that men want that for relationships?
Do you think men want to date a child for relationships because they're more attractive?
I think men prefer younger women in general.
In relationships.
Yes.
That's just, I'm sorry, but that's not even backed up by your own data. It says
I
men
would
are
say
more
younger than them, typically.
younger than them. That's a different. That's not men want to date 22-year-olds. A 50-year-old
They're
doesn't.
the most attracted to 22-year-olds, and looks gets you in the door.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Just
get you in the door. That's just step one.
You're saying different things. In this culture, if a man is walking around with a
Guys,
22-year-old,
two out of
people
the-
are going to think that's weird. People think
Two
it's
out of
weird.
the five. It says 2 out of the 5 top porn stars in Pornhub are 23 and under, and all of the people that you're listing started young.
So they're old now.
It's still
Yeah,
popular.
they built their fan base.
I don't think it really works that way.
Her friends
old. They
texting
shouldn't
her.
be-
It's
they
so
shouldn't be
I
hot.
don't
They're
think it
old.
works that way. You guys are in media. You know damn well that you build a fan base.
Bro,
over
what do you
time.
think? They're YouTubers? They're not doing Minecraft Let's Play. They're naked.
Come on. Come on.
I don't find that analysis very interesting. Apparently, you don't either because
Sweetie Fox, 22.
yeah, there's
Eva-
porn stars who are 22.
Yeah, of course.
The majority are younger.
Yeah, but
Uh-huh.
not the popular ones.
The
Milf.
most popular ones are
Milf.
younger. The
Let's-
most popular ones are younger.
They're like in late 20s, you know.
My dog's barking. 1 second.
She's like, finally.
Sorry. I let her outside. It's kind of hot in here.
I want to ask you
The number 1 porn star is 23.
who?
It's either, let me see, it's Eva.
She's like texting back. What's the name?
I don't think it
The
really.
number 1 porn
Doesn't
star
have
in
any
Pornhub
idea
is
what
23.
she's doing. Oh my god.
Eva Elfie is 23.
She's not number one.
What I'm
Okay.
saying is number 1.
But even if that's true, I don't think that refutes anything. I mean,
From what I'm
possibly
seeing,
number one
my
is 23.
friend texting
But,
me.
But you said,
she's
you
not
just
number
said
one.
it, you just said it. You just said it refuted it if that the number 1 search was MILFs.
Right. Well, it counters your argument. Okay, let's move on. There's just arguments in circles here. I want to talk about this a little bit more. Higher body count
They
doesn't.
said the 2018 poll, citing a 2018 poll, and the 2022 numbers show that the MILF drops.
The MILF drops, but it's
Citing a 2018 poll, and the 2022 numbers show that the MILF drops.
top, it's
Well,
top
she's
5
just-
most searched. Number 1 in UK, Southern Asia,
You
Canada,
did say that it
Netherlands.
was 2018.
Yeah, the 2018
Yeah, but
one.
I'm saying it says the 2022 one that dropped.
Oh, so men became less interested in older women in the last 5 years, I guess.
Well, this year,
Well,
MILF,
hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead,
sorry,
Olivia.
MILF was number 1 search term this year in the UK, Southern Asia, Canada, and Netherlands.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was in the top 5 most searched for terms in Paris, Italy, Mexico, Spain, Poland, Ukraine, Argentina, Sweden, and Belgium this year.
And Lana Rhodes is number 1, and she's 26. But whatever, who cares? Let's move on.
Okay.
I disagree. Listen, I disagree. There's not a lot of data on this. Like, there's really no data to make a conclusion. So again, I just don't think it's fair for when you talk about these things to say, oh, science says this, data shows this, but there's no data that shows any of that. I mean, it's just, again, you feel that way. You feel
We
that
just
to be
talked
true.
about. We just talked about that men find 22-year-olds the most attractive.
Yeah,
so
but
you
not
can
the most-
interpret. You can interpret the data differently than me. That's fine. Like we can
It's not
interpret
really
the
data. That was
we
a
can- we can
random blob
interpret-
from
we
a
can-
book.
We can. I mean, there's also dating app data, and then you guys
what
interpret
this
it
is.
differently than me. We can interpret it differently, and you could come to one conclusion. and I could come
Let's
to another,
agree.
right?
Let's
But-
agree to disagree on this one. So tell me, we didn't really get to flesh this out, but I find this topic interesting. Why is a woman with a high body count, and high, I guess, is like 10 plus? What is high?
Well, it depends. Depends what guys you ask. You know.
In your opinion?
I mean, in my opinion, I really think it's best to be a virgin when you get married. So I didn't do that. I wish I did, but I think it's best to be a virgin.
Okay, but like, what would you consider a high body count, if in general, when men are looking, considering such a thing?
It seems like the body count studies that I've seen, it drops around like 5 to 7.
5 to
So
7.
I'd say-
Okay, so what is inherently less desirable about a woman with 5 to 7 partners?
I mean, what value does that bring to a guy?
Well, it's neutral.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's
I
a
asked you what
give-
devalues it, not what values it.
What devalues it? I think that you have more X's to compare your current partner
Oh,
to.
so it's insecurity. So you would be
If you
insecure.
want to label it that way, but it's like, why would you want someone with more X's?
Oh man, she's
5 to 7 sexual partners means that there's too much to compare me to, and therefore you might think that I'm inadequate because you've had better partners.
Well, it's also like the rate. Women are happier when they're virgins on their wedding day. So
That is just something you said.
no, look, I mean, you can look up the studies on body count. Again,
Yeah, we can fact check that. It just seems like something you just
she's choking and choking, dude. This is
had better partners.
well, it's also like the rate. Women are happier when they're virgins on their wedding day. So
That is just something.
Please
you
look
said.
that up.
no, look, I mean, you can look up the studies on body count. Again,
Yeah, we can fact check that. It just seems like something you just say.
it's like from
Virgin-
the Family Institute, something in Family Institute.
Okay, but so while we look that up, let's say so women are happier. But
The more sexual partners a woman has, the less happy she
But
tends
I'm
to be
asking you,
married.
what is less attractive? Because you talk about men are looking for women who have had less sexual partners. So what is less attractive? What makes them less attractive?
What makes them less attractive? Men don't want hoes.
do you mean by
Men don't want women that have slept with multiple people.
We're talking about 5 to 7 partners. Why don't men want hoes?
Do you want a woman with a lot of bodies?
Is that a hoe now? 5 to 7 partners is like a hoe? Really? Man, standards.
7, I don't consider. I think that's totally like.
Well, I think most men would, pray for that nowadays. But what
do you mean most men would pray for it? Because the number I looked up is 10% of women there's only 10% of women in the United States have more than 15 partners. The average number is 4.2.
Did that study was for women? It included older women too, though, didn't
25 to 44.
Yeah,
And they also have stats showing that the younger generation's having less sex also.
I just think it would probably be more accurate if you kept women under like 35. But
so what makes a hoe? What does a hoe mean?
Thank you.
I mean, it depends on who you ask.
I'm asking you clearly.
What do I think? I mean, from a historical
She's
perspective.
like, oh no, what do I think? Oh man, what would a man say?
Really a virgin. Like, I think you should be a virgin on your wedding day.
Okay.
That's again.
You already said that.
But what's that have to do with men being attracted? You said men don't want to date hoes. I just want to unpack that. Men don't want to date hoes. I don't know what that means, if I can be totally honest with you.
Men would prefer a woman with less sexual experience than more.
Oh, less? Well, so I gotta disagree with you. I just don't think that's true. I don't think men care. I don't think men care how many sexual partners that women have had, unless it's like 100. But that's true of men. Men who have had 100 sexual partners are also pretty.
Do you think women care about Drake's body count?
Why?
Like women want to sleep with Drake and like other celebrities. Do you think they care about
Do
their
they
body?
want to date Drake? You seemed really like a stickler about that distinction there before.
Count?
Are we talking
But
about
men
Drake? Or are we
men
talking about
lining
general?
up
I mean, Drake's a celebrity.
But men aren't lining up to date like Lana Rhoades, Mia Khalifa, and like actually
You
marry
fucking
them.
crazy? Dude, are you crazy? Do you really believe that? Dude, men would. There is quite literally.
There are
people
men that would literally give their
Come
life
on,
to do that.
you can't believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think the men
would
with the
die for
most
that.
options, that's what they want to do?
Men with the most options want to do what?
We're not talking about men with the most options. Are you talking about women with the most options when it comes to Drake? Or are you just talking about average fans?
I'm talking about Drake does not have a problem getting laid because of his body count. I would imagine that
Right.
porn
That's
stars
not-
would have
yeah.
I would imagine that porn stars would have a hard time getting into marriage with a man that they respect and admire.
Marriage.
Aren't you the one that's always been like, let's not talk about fringe cases? What's the point of bringing up Drake? That's like the most extreme example.
That's
wouldn't
not
you agree?
marriage.
I mean, we could even go
That's
into
just a
like normal
hookup.
dating. I think
That's
it's
more
silly.
important. Yeah, let's
like,
do
this
that.
I just think it's silly to argue that men want to date women with high body counts.
No, they don't want to. I'm saying I don't think it matters, especially the number you gave me,
Care
5
one
to
way or
7.
the other,
Yeah,
yeah.
5 to 7. I don't think men care about that in general. I just don't.
I mean, you could argue 15 to 20, 25. Like, I don't know exactly what point, but usually there is a point for most men.
Sure,
it's
and
like-
women. I mean, and women. I don't think women want to date someone who's like
I just don't think it's equal.
not equal because Drake.
No, not because of Drake.
Because Drake.
Because we should remove like celebrity and outside kind of influences from this because that obviously creates unusual fringe cases, which we don't like. We don't like to talk about those.
So then what about the abortion one
I was just
earlier?
parodying you. I was just
thought you
kidding.
liked.
I was just kidding. I was just joking. Yeah. All right, one last thing. I see that we're getting exhausted here. It's fine. Drake saying, "I want a girl with a future and a past." That's a lyric of his. He wants an experienced girl. Even Drake's talking about it in his damn lyrics. Drake doesn't want a virgin.
You just said no celebrities. That's crazy how you just threw that out the window now.
You don't want to talk about it. Drake wants a girl with a future and a past.
Oh, stop. His simp pandering music to women. He makes money off of that. Women are like, come on.
Drake. All right, let's talk about one
Also
last
seems
thing.
like a creepy, probably. Yeah.
And I do thank you for being here. You know, it's combative, but I think it's a good conversation. I wanted to ask you about one last thing. This comment I thought was interesting, and tell me what you think about it.
This sounds similar to the slavery stuff too, because that's literally the founder of, or the guy who made Roots said, I wanted a myth for my people to live by. So they often, but that's what they do is they embellish, and I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible, it was, right? But they want to make it like more horrible so that they can control people.
So, in what way was slavery made to seem more horrible than it was?
Jesus, what a horrible
We were talking
quote.
about. I don't really want to go into this too much because we're kind of past this.
Oh, I'm
But I was
sure
quoting a
you-
Thomas Sowell book.
Jeez, why would you not want to go into that one, I wonder?
So
Mystery.
Okay.
Who's that?
yeah, so Thomas Sowell is an author who talks about the history of slavery. So
But do you agree with that premise that slavery was embellished, or no?
I think that there are parts that are under embellished and there are parts that are over embellished. I think it just depends what
That's
we're talking
so interesting. I've got to know what was over embellished about slavery. Just like one example, I'm dying to know.
What was over? That's actually a great question.
Yeah, I just rather. I mean, I was talking about a book that I read, and I think to understand the context, you'd have to read the book.
You just said some parts were embellished, some parts were embellished.
I just
Are
again.
you retracting that?
Bruh, where's slavery been over embellished? Holy shit.
I'd really just rather not.
Okay. No, but slavery being embellished, that's so interesting. I don't know how you embellish it.
There are certain facts that we're not allowed to talk about.
Like what? I would love to. We're doing the taboo.
No,
we're mixing it up. It's red pill, baby. Let's see the world as it is.
Taboo topics.
I genuinely want to know how it's embellished.
Yeah.
What can't we talk about? Come on.
I mean, I could show you the video I was quoting, but it's just I'd rather not get into this. So.
She has like no idea what she's talking about. She probably doesn't even remember why she said that or when she said that or anything of the sort, is my guess.
Sounds like a blue pill attitude to me.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping this was like a good faith interview.
Wait, what's bad faith? I'm literally showing you clips of you saying stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry.
Oh no, we really have you're being bad faith by bringing up things I've said.
What about this interview has been bad faith?
I just think you're kind of trying to push an agenda, and you're not. Yeah, I just think you're trying to push.
That's a clip of you saying that. You can disavow it. That'd be super easy to say I was wrong.
Full interview where I'm quoting somebody. Like if you watch the full interview, I am quoting somebody, and now you're trying to pin me down about a topic that I don't dive into.
Hold on.
So it's like, that's not the point of my channel.
Okay,
the point of my channel isn't.
I know, but you said it. How is that bad faith? Hold on, let me see.
Because I was talking about how the founder of Thomas Sowell talks about how the guy that made Roots talked about how it was a myth for his people to live by. Okay. That's what the guy who made Roots said, Alex Haley.
Okay.
So, and I can't even talk about that on a podcast without being canceled by the internet.
Yeah, but mythology, you know, myth doesn't necessarily mean it's a lie, right? Just because mythology is like culture,
right, but I'm
history.
saying that doesn't mean the way it's depicted in the movie was how it actually happened. And that's what he was talking about on the book. But again, I was quoting a book, and you're trying to like pin me down on quoting a book.
Let me watch this again and see if I'm doing that.
Stuff too, because that's literally the founder of, or the guy who made Roots said I wanted a myth for my people to live by. Yeah. So they often, but that's what they do. They embellish.
So then you say, but here's what they do.
And I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible.
I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible.
Right, but they want to make it like more horrible.
But they want to make it more horrible.
That they can control people.
So that they can control people.
Right, but
Nick Fuentes disagrees.
But wait, oh my gosh. 5 minutes before, I say Sowell talks about this in his book. So I'm communicating in the interview that I'm quoting an author.
You're not being honest. You say they do this to. Okay, so you disavow. Just disavow it then. That's easy. Just say I don't think slavery was embellished. I mean, that's super easy. That's like a layup.
She has to do it now. See, remember, she doesn't do well with this admitting she was wrong type thing.
Do you agree? You know what I mean? It's like just say you don't think slavery was embellished.
I think there are certain facts that you're not allowed to talk about. I don't really.
Everybody, my food is here, so I am going to be done watching this Pearl video.